Chapter 653. In the woods, Wang Feng looked at Qian Rinxue and calmly told her the plan. For a moment, he stood in the wind and was confused. This was really a pair of mother and daughter. Wang Fengxin shouted in his mind. Why do they both like to play this game? Qian Rinxue was completely different from what Wang Feng had imagined. Even if Wang Feng didn't know the plot later in the original work, he guessed that Tang San must have seen through Qian Rinxue's disguise. However, he didn't expect that Qian Rinxue would want to escape from her identity here and frantically try to let people see through her disguise. Wang Feng could roughly understand Qian Rinxue's feelings. However, the current situation was really beyond Wang Feng's imagination. This mother and daughter pair were definitely smarter than the other when it came to intelligence. But he never expected that. Why do they both like to play this game? Wang Feng looked at Qian Rinxue, calmed down and said in surprise, White Popetiff? Isn't he dead? Why do you want me to pretend to be him? To be honest, Wang Feng really didn't expect that Qian Rinxue would ask him to do this. Nonsense, if he's not dead, why would I ask you to pretend to be a living person? It's too easy for people to see through you, and many people haven't seen how White Popetiff died. Qian Rinxue said calmly. Wang Feng finally understood Qian Rinxue's plan. I need someone close to the martial spirit palace, preferably someone who can fully represent the martial spirit palace, to cover my retreat. This way, they can be more certain that I'm from the martial spirit palace. Qian Rinxue continued. Other titled Douluo can also do, but she didn't send anyone. White Popetiff is a very good identity. He represented the martial spirit palace some time ago. With him covering my retreat, it can also prove that I'm from the martial spirit palace, and this identity will definitely be confirmed. Furthermore, he's a dead man. He won't appear at the same time as the other titled Douluo of the martial spirit palace, so no one will suspect him. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Qian Rinxue had clearly thought this through. His train of thought was clear. It was precisely because the White Popetiff was dead that it was easy to impersonate him. Because there wouldn't be a second Popetiff in white. Wang Fengxin thought of something and said, But if you say so, is that White Popetiff dead or not? You are from the martial spirit palace. How would I know? Qian Rinxue shook his head and said, Based on her personality, it's unlikely to be fake. I rarely return to the martial spirit palace. I don't know the details, but it's possible that she's spreading the news, but the probability of that is very low. Alright, I've made myself clear. Qian Rinxue said in a low voice. I plan to implement it immediately after some time. White Popetiff is a special person. It may be difficult for you to impersonate him. After all, this person is very strong and has special abilities. His martial soul is also quite troublesome. The only thing that was similar between the two of you was that soul bone. It was somewhat similar. But he can use his spirit to control the sword, which is comparable to the sword Douluo. You can just use it when the time comes. Just cover my retreat. You don't have to use your full strength. After saying that, Qian Rinxue looked at Wang Feng. It's quite difficult for me. Wang Feng nodded. Alright then, it's settled. Hearing this, Qian Rinxue put on the smile of Shueqinghe on his face again. Then wait for my news. Qian Rinxue dispersed the soul power barrier and his voice regained its friendliness. But there was a trace of fatigue in his eyes. It seems that Qian Rinxue is also tired of pretending. Seeing this, Wang Feng sighed softly. But she's been pretending for 20 years, and I've only been pretending for half a year. I still can't compare. Qian Rinxue left with a look of regret. To outsiders, she was obviously pretending to recruit Wang Feng and then left after being rejected. A few days later, Tang San successfully recruited and subdued the Tribe of Strength, where the Herculean Titan was. The Tribe of Strength used to be a subsidiary sect of the Clear Sky sect, and they were also retainers of the Tang family. However, according to Tang San, the Clear Sky sect was attacked by the Martial Soul Palace and suffered a great loss, so they directly closed the sect. This caused the Clear Sky sect's subsidiary sects to decline one by one. Otherwise, with the strength of the Tribe of Strength, they would have a chance to become one of the 7 great sects. But now they had less than 200 disciples. Because of this, the subsidiary sects of the Clear Sky sect, which were originally loyal to the Clear Sky sect, developed a great resistance and hatred towards the Clear Sky sect. Because the Tribe of Strength relied more on the Tang family, they were very supportive of Tang San. As a result, Tang San did not have to spend much effort to subdue the Herculean Titan. Of course, Tang San also temporarily used his abilities and Tang San's own thoughts about the Tang sect. Wang Feng also understood. When the Herculean Titan saw Tang San's clear sky hammer, he immediately knelt down and called him young master. He must still remember Tang Hao in his heart. Unfortunately, Tang Hao did not care about them. After his wife died, Tang Hao did not even want to care about his own son, let alone those loyal sections. After the Clear Sky sect expelled Tang Hao from the sect, they did not care about those subsidiary sections. As a result, those subsidiary sects were now like a plate of loose sand, and they still hated the Clear Sky sect. Fortunately, Tang San appeared. Hearing that, Wang Feng only shook his head gently. Uncle Hao's personality was not suitable to be a leader. The decline of the Tribe of Strength was caused by my father back then. Tang San sighed softly and said, that Grandpa Titan was the one who watched my father grow up. However, my father failed them and the other 3 great single attribute sects. Now that I have established the Tang sect, I will definitely restore them to their former glory. Wang Feng laughed a few times to express his agreement. That was actually different from the 4 lower sects that Wang Feng subdued. The 4 single-element sects had been affiliated with the Clear Sky sect for many years, and their relationship was not ordinary. Even so, in the end, when the tree fell, the monkeys would scatter. The relationship deteriorated. In comparison, the 4 sects that Wang Feng subdued, especially the Medicine Spirit sect and the Qi Cauldron sect, were the most loyal. Although the time was short, in reality they were more loyal. That was because he had swallowed the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires and learned the Qi Cauldron control technique. Grandpa Titan and the others are very good at smithing, and they are very interested in my hidden weapons. Tang San said with a smile, in my plan, if we want to mass-produce the Tang sect's hidden weapons in the future, we will have to rely on Grandpa Titan. Hearing that, Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. He thought of the Qi Cauldron sect. The Qi Cauldron sect's strongest ability was not smithing. Instead, it was strengthening, refining various materials, and strengthening various weapons. It was the same for hidden weapons. In comparison, if the Qi Cauldron sect could have the real Qi Cauldron martial soul, they would become even more powerful. Unfortunately, the Qi Cauldron sect did not seem to have that kind of Qi Cauldron martial soul. Wang Feng felt that it was a pity. In the next few days, I should be visiting the other sects with Grandpa Titan. Tang San continued, I plan to bring Ma Hongjun and Oscar along because some of the other sects are in the Star Luo Empire. End of chapter. Chapter 654. Wang Feng thought for a while and thought that if Qian Rinxue were to look for him, he had to find an alibi. In 2 days, I have to go to the Soul Beast Forest in the north. When I was recuperating there, I met a few soul beasts and went through a period of recuperation and training with them. I plan to go and see them. When Tang San heard this, he was obviously very surprised. However, he didn't reject it at all. On the contrary, he was quite interested. After all, Xiao Wu was a soul beast. Tang San naturally wouldn't have any objections to this kind of thing. It seems that humans and soul masters can also establish a friendly relationship. Tang San couldn't help but ask, Brother Feng, what kind of soul beasts are they? There's nothing to say. Wang Feng waved his hand, they're all a bunch of weaklings, the very weak and ordinary kind. Otherwise, with my serious injuries at that time, a slightly stronger soul beast would have eaten me. Tang San nodded. Indeed. How could a powerful soul beast be friends with a human? A situation like Xiao Wu's was already extremely rare. The few soul beast friends that Brother Feng made shouldn't be very strong. Then you can get to know them when you have time. Tang San smiled. Okay, I'll bring them to you when I have the chance. Wang Feng thought that when his white cloud-bound flag was big enough to fit those little guys, he would bring them out. However, cowardly Kun was too big. If it was the white cloud-bound flag, who knew how much spiritual power it would consume? Now that he thought about it, he missed it a little. It had been more than 5 years. Who knew how far they had cultivated now? But with the strength of these 5 guys, it was very difficult for them to encounter any life-threatening danger in the 4 Extremes Manifestation Valley. Tang San and Wang Feng chatted for a while. At this time, Douluo suddenly came to the Shrek Academy. Little monster, the imperial family doesn't seem to be doing well. Douluo walked over with a solemn face. Seeing this, Wang Fengxin's heart moved. It seemed that Qian Renxue had acted very quickly. Imperial family? What's wrong? Tang San asked in surprise. Isn't it good? Is Xue Qinghe going to inherit the throne? Douluo shook his head and said, No, it's about the Snow Knight Emperor. He pondered for a moment, as if organizing his words, and then opened his mouth again. The day before yesterday, I paid a visit to the Snowy Knight Emperor, and found that the originally dispirited Snowy Knight Emperor suddenly became spirited, and his voice was loud and clear. You may not know, but due to the age of the Snow Knight Emperor, coupled with the fact that he had overworked himself over the years and lost 2 sons in succession, his mental state had not been very good. Especially in the past 2 years, his mental state has been deteriorating day by day. That's why he was in a hurry to pass on his position to Xue Qinghe. But now that he's suddenly reinvigorated, I find it very strange. I sensed a little and realized that the Snow Knight Emperor was most likely poisoned. Hearing this, Wang Feng knew that Qian Renxue had taken action. This kind of poison is very rare. Douluo said in a deep voice. I have never seen it before. However, this was a poison that could consume a soul master's lifespan and temporarily increase their spiritual power. If this goes on, even though the Snowy Knight Emperor seems to be getting better and better, he might die in a short period of time. Hearing this, Tang San was startled. Old poison? What do you mean? Tang San frowned. You must know that most of the matters in the palace are managed by Xue Qinghe. It's obviously not right for his father to be in such a situation. However, he thinks that it's a good thing and that it's a blessing from the heavens. Even the Snowy Knight Emperor thinks so, causing many doctors in the palace to not dare to speak the truth. Douluo said slowly, I secretly said a few words to the Snowy Knight Emperor, and he reluctantly believed me. However, I can only suppress this poison temporarily. If an accident happens, I mean, the person who used this poison is most likely Xue Qinghe? Tang San finished his sentence. Douluo nodded. Isn't Xue Qinghe the crown prince? Wang Feng coughed a few times and asked. He's going to inherit the throne anyway. There's no need for him to do such a thing, right? Tang San nodded. That was indeed the case. You're thinking too simply. Douluo sighed. Think about it. At this sensitive time, the Snowy Knight Emperor is dead. Even if the Heaven Do Empire has Xue Qinghe, it will definitely be chaotic. Old poison, you suspect that the Martial Spirit Palace is behind this. Tang San took a deep breath. That's right. Douluo said in a low voice. Furthermore, I suspect that this Xue Qinghe is related to the Martial Spirit Palace. Because of the current situation, once Xue Qinghe takes over the Heaven Do Empire, the 7 treasure glaze tile sect in the empire will be in extreme danger. The Heaven Do Empire will also quickly lean towards the Martial Spirit Palace. Before we have time to prepare, I'm afraid that the martial spirit palace will cause a storm. Tang San was stunned after hearing this. It's him. His Tang sect hasn't even developed yet. If the martial spirit palace suddenly does this at this time, if the Heaven Do Empire is directly controlled by the martial spirit palace, how can they resist? I can only temporarily treat the Snowy Night Emperor and slowly observe Xueqinghe. You have to be mentally prepared. Douluo looked at the two of them. If something goes wrong, I'm afraid we'll be in trouble. Wang Feng. It seems that the plan is going according to Qianrenshue's plan. Wang Fengxin sighed silently. But Tang San frowned and told him about the few subsidiary sects that he was going to subdue. He also told him about Wang Feng's situation. This is also quite important, Douluo said in deep thought. This side is still stable for now. I've heard of those sections. They are a force of help. Tang San naturally didn't have the mind to care about the matters of the imperial palace. His Tang sect had just started. Furthermore, Douluo's words were all conjectures. Without any evidence, he couldn't manage it. He could only rely on Douluo's research on poison to slow down the Snowy Night Emperor's situation. Then that's it for now. Because this matter is more important, I came to tell you personally. Douluo sighed a few times and told him a few more secrets of the imperial family before slowly leaving. But these secrets were all related to Prince Avalanche. Wang Feng had heard about it from Qianrenshue long ago. After that, Tang San brought Ma Hongjun and Oscar to the Star Luo Empire, intending to subdue the other 3 single attribute sects to join the Tang sect. Wang Feng naturally didn't go to the extreme north. That place was too far. If he went there, it would take more than a month. He only left the Shrek Academy. He found a place to cultivate. At the same time, he thought about whether he could use the power of the Golden Lotus to mature an immortal herb for Ningfengji. He could also secretly get in touch with Qianrenshue. Wang Feng's current priority, whether it was soul power or spiritual power, was the most important. The speed of his soul power increasing was still acceptable. With this body it was still acceptable, and the cultivation of his spiritual power was even more important. But the good thing was that his spiritual power was increasing faster than his soul power. Because he had a specific cultivation method, the speed was naturally much faster. He could feel an obvious increase every day. End of chapter. Chapter 655. In addition, he would definitely return to the Pope's palace after the matter with Qianrenshue was over. At that time, Bibidon would bring him into the Rakshasa secret realm to improve his strength. Bibidon had accepted the Rakshasa deity's assessment, and it had obviously been a long time. In fact, the best way to deal with Bibidon was to interrupt her assessment and make her lose the chance to become a god. In this way, no matter how ambitious Bibidon was, she could only look at the ocean and sigh. With Wang Feng's understanding of Bibidon, the source of her ambition came from the power of the deity position. Without the deity position, Wang Feng believed that all of Bibidon's plans would fall apart. Even if he couldn't beat Bibidon. This should be the best way, Wang Feng muttered. It's worse than simply killing her, cutting off her deity position inheritance. However, the deity position inheritance shouldn't be broken so easily. Wang Feng still had to maximize his strength when he returned to the Pope's palace. And the main reason why he gave the immortal grade herb to Ningfengji was because of Ning Rongrong. Ningfengji was a serious person on his side, and Wang Feng felt that with Ningfengji's wisdom, he would definitely see that other than his daughter, there were other girls who had feelings for him. Therefore, Ningfengji wanted to use all kinds of methods to tie him and Ning Rongrong together. In addition, Ningfengji also knew that he had the ability to accelerate the ripening of herbs. With Wang Feng's current strength, it wouldn't take long to give Ningfengji one. In the battle between the two Douluo, although Wang Feng wanted to show off, it was really impossible to defeat them unless he exposed some other strength. He could also use this herb to avoid this battle, and let the 7 treasure glazed tile sect support the Tang sect. Just like that. About 2 months later, Tang San returned from the Star Luo Empire. In the past 2 months, Wang Feng had also been maintaining close contact with Qianrenxue. He had a very detailed understanding of the progress of Qianrenxue. He had to admit that Qianrenxue was very good at controlling the poison. She already knew about Tang San's situation, so she had been controlling the poison in the Snowy Night Emperor's body, which made Douluo more suspicious. He was waiting for Tang San to come back and expose her identity. Wang Feng didn't go anywhere. Instead, he stayed in the ice-fire Yin-Yang well in the setting sun forest to nurture a beautiful silk tulip. Back then, Wang Feng had eaten one, but he had also left behind a seed. However, for such an immortal herb, just a seed alone would take an unknown amount of time to germinate and bloom. 6 years later, when Wang Feng arrived at the ice-fire Yin-Yang well, he discovered that there was also a small mound on the ground, but it hadn't even sprouted. He estimated that it would take hundreds of years to grow. At the same time, Wang Feng compared the difference between the Icefire Yin-Yang well and the Four Extremities Nature Manifestation Valley. He discovered that in terms of energy density alone, the Four Absolutes Vientiane Valley was much stronger. Because of the 4 different types of energy gathered in the 4 danger zones, the Vientiane Valley was in a delicate state of balance. This was especially true in the center, where the energy density was extremely high. The 4 different types of energy converged at a single point, and cultivating there would be faster. In the past 2 months, Wang Feng's soul power rank hadn't broken through, but his spiritual power had made great progress. It had doubled from a thin stream of spiritual power to a thin stream. It was roughly as thick as the urine of a toddler, or as thick as the urine of a teenager. In fact, Wang Feng had already known that Tang San had returned. To be more precise, the major sects that Little Three had subdued had already returned. However, he had gone out again to search for materials to craft hidden weapons. The Yuji clan was tasked with rebuilding the Tang sect's mansion, using the Titan clan's mansion as the basis for their plans. Wang Feng naturally knew about this. Even if he didn't know, Qianrenxue would have quickly transmitted this information to him. The Yuji clan was most adept at construction. Sometimes, Wang Feng thought that these 4 single elemental sects should have been affiliated to the Clear Sky sect, and they were weakening day by day. However, they all had extraordinary abilities. Why didn't the Martial Spirit Palace think of subduing them? Or perhaps they could have just destroyed them. However, Wang Feng didn't think too much about it. The Martial Spirit Palace was a big organization, and sometimes they might not be able to take care of so many things. Bibidon had to accept the godly position inheritance and manage the huge Martial Spirit Palace at the same time. It wasn't easy, and it was impossible for them to take care of everything. Heaven Do City. Tang San looked at the Tang sect in front of him with some emotion. The Tang sect was renovating the Titan family residence, and part of the funds used for the renovations came from the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, part of it came from Tang San's inventory, part of it came from the Blue Lightning Overlord sect, and part of it came from Big Brother Feng's support. Although Ning Fengji said that the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile sect didn't support the Tang sect because Wang Feng hadn't returned yet, in fact, they had supported the Tang sect to a certain extent. After all, Tang San went to a place called Gongjin City to purchase metals. Ning Rongrong also went with him, and she could be considered to have joined the Tang sect. As a father, he couldn't just sit there and do nothing. Because it was built with the Yuji clan's residence, the renovation was done very quickly. It looked decent. If the captain comes back and sees the Tang sect, he will be very surprised, right? Ma Hongjun chuckled. It's only been 2 months, and our Tang sect has used more than 1,000 disciples. The 4 clans did indeed have more than 1,000 disciples. Tang San also nodded his head in satisfaction. The past 2 months had been quite smooth. Each of the four major sects had its own characteristic. Tang San felt that it took a lot of effort to recruit them. It was also thanks to the Titan clan's coordination. One must know that the four great sects were all extremely arrogant and unyielding. This was especially true for the Posey clan. Their clan leader, Yang Wudi, was ridiculously strong. Yang Wudi's soul-destroying spear had frightening offensive strength. However, Tang San felt that his rank 83 soul power wasn't inferior to a titled Douluo's attack. In fact, it was even stronger. However, he was very arrogant and strong. How could he join the Tang sect so easily? But compared to Brother Feng's fourth form, he's still a lot weaker. Tang San thought to himself. Fortunately, I have Xiao Wu's invincible golden body. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. The Posey clan was very knowledgeable about all kinds of herbs. They were a little special. Tang San recalled that he had used a delicate silk immortal to convince the arrogant Yang Wudi. Cousin, Fatty, the captain you're talking about, is he the famous 9-1 Open? Didn't the Martial Soul Hall say that he was exhausted and died? Beside Ma Hongjun, a tall and beautiful girl asked in a crisp voice. End of chapter. Chapter 656. Hee Chun Xiang, you don't know this, right? Ma Hongjun said proudly. How could the captain die? Don't you know the Martial Spirit Hall's nature? Humph, at that time, the Martial Spirit Hall wanted the captain to join them, but the captain refused. They wanted to capture the captain, but the captain escaped. They were flustered and exasperated, so they released this statement. The captain was seriously injured and recuperated for 5 years, but he didn't die. But I heard from Ning Rongrong that the captain was disfigured. At this point, Ma Hongjun said modestly, I reluctantly took over the captain's position as the most handsome of the Shrek's 7 monsters, and became the most handsome of the Shrek's 7 monsters. Hearing this, Oscar made a vomiting gesture. There was a girl beside Oscar. She was a head shorter than Oscar, only about 1.65 meters tall. But she was also very good-looking, and had an outstanding temperament. She looked like a pretty girl from a humble family. But when she smiled, she gave off a very forthright feeling. She was Oscar's girlfriend, also a food-type soul master. Her name was Shunlingqi. Her martial soul was white beer. It was a rare drink-type martial soul among the food-type soul masters. White beer was a special kind of beer that was extremely strong. At the same time, she also had innate full soul power and was a rare genius in the Imperial Star Luo Academy. But she didn't participate in the Continental Elite competition. The reason why her talent was slightly higher than Oscar's was because the quality of her martial soul was higher. White beer was the most complicated beer to brew, and it was also the most precious type of beer. As a martial soul, it was naturally not simple. If it was just roasted sausages, it was inferior to white beer. But after transforming into Jinhua sausages, it wasn't inferior. Her soul power rank wasn't as high as Oscar's because Oscar had consumed an immortal herb. Shunlingqi's soul power was only about rank 53. She didn't consume an immortal herb, was about the same age as Oscar, and was also a food-type soul master. It was already very exaggerated that she could cultivate to this level. If she had consumed an immortal herb to cultivate, she would definitely be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Oscar. Damn Fatty, even if Wang Feng is disfigured, he's still more handsome than you. Ning Rongrong coldly snorted, Chun Xiang, you have to be careful. This guy's martial soul is a fire phoenix, the king of all birds. It has a very special attraction and pressure towards your sharp-tailed swift. Don't be fooled by him. The tall and beautiful girl beside Ma Hongjun was called Bai Qinxiang. She was a disciple of the Nimble clan and the granddaughter of the clan leader. She was also a genius, but compared to Oscar and the others there was a big difference. However, his talent was still outstanding among his peers. Now that he was 20 years old, he was not even level 49, but in reality, he was already extremely strong. If he took the immortal herb, he would only be slightly weaker than Ma Hongjun. I don't like fatties. Bai Qinxiang looked at Ma Hongjun with disgust. Even if the martial soul is attractive to me, what does that have to do with me? Seeing this, Ma Hongjun's face fell. Ning Rongrong suddenly laughed and reluctantly said a few good words for Ma Hongjun. Actually, fatties aren't considered fat. If he's possessed by the martial soul, he'll look more burly. Yes, yes, yes. Ma Hongjun looked at Bai Qinxiang, his eyes turning into stars. It couldn't be helped. Looking at the couples around him, he finally saw a suitable one. After holding it in for so long, Ma Hongjun felt that he had endured the pain of being single. The Nimble Clan's clan leader, Bai He, smiled and looked at Ma Hongjun with satisfaction. The name and talent of the Shrek's 7 monsters had long been famous in the continent. As the clan leader of the Nimble Clan, he naturally knew the talent of the 7. The mysterious captain was the most mysterious and powerful. Next was Tang San, and then the 6 monsters were almost the same. This evil fire phoenix, Ma Hongjun, was actually very suitable for the Nimble Clan's martial soul. Tisk, Bai Qinxiang snorted and laughed. Xiao Ao, how can you laugh at your brother like that? Shen Lingqi also said softly, sounding like a willow spring breeze. But Oscar's expression changed, and he immediately stood up and said righteously, Actually, Fatty is very charming. He has fought with me all these years, and I don't know how many times he has protected me. He is also very good at taking care of people. The girls in our adventuring team all had a good impression of him. If they could become his girlfriend, it would be a very happy thing. Ma Hongjun was stunned and thought to himself, Xiao Ao is a bastard. It's good enough that he doesn't usually insult me. When will he say good things for me? However, when he looked at Shen Lingqi, he immediately understood what was going on. They had met Shen Lingqi when they went to the Star Luo Empire. Xiao Ao happened to do some brainwashing and brought her over. Xiao Ao is henpecked. Ma Hongjun thought to himself, I can't be like this in the future. At this time, Bai Qinxiang said in surprise, Really? Fatty, come closer and let me have a look. Hearing this, Ma Hongjun was overjoyed. He hurriedly walked over obediently and said modestly, Xiao Ao just likes to randomly praise people. I'm actually not that good. I just know a little more about girls. Just as he said this, Bai Qinxiang sneered and said, You just know a lot about girls? It seems that you know a lot about girls? Ma Hongjun. Oh no, I said the wrong thing. Ma Hongjun broke out in a cold sweat. He didn't know much about girls before, but it was all in bed. Bai Qinxiang ignored him. She swung her hair and walked directly into the Tang sect's courtyard. Ma Hongjun quickly chased after her. As he ran, he said, No, Qinxiang, listen to me. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. These brothers of yours are all quite interesting. Shen Lingqi laughed a few times and changed the topic. Xiao Ao, do you know a lot about girls? No, I don't know at all. Oscar had learned his lesson and answered without hesitation, The only person I know is you, Ling Qi. However, Shen Lingqi looked at him with a faint smile and said, But Rong Rong and Zhu Qing are both members of the 7 Freaks. You don't even know your companions who fought side by side? You've disappointed me. After saying this, Shen Lingqi walked in. Oscar. It was too difficult. Oscar quickly chased after her and said loudly, Lingqi, listen to me. I don't know what you mean. Seeing this, the other 4 sect leaders laughed as well. It's good to be young. Old Master Tai Tan sighed. It's really good. Bai He also sighed with his hands behind his back. I say, how old are you guys? Niu Gao, the leader of the Yuji clan, said with a smile. You still have the mood to sigh here? Sect leader, let's go in first. Tang San smiled and looked at Niu Gao. End of chapter. Chapter 657. This elder, who was about the same size as Grandpa Taitan, was a craftsman from the Yuji clan. He was a sole Douluo who was over rank 80, and his martial soul was the plate rhinoceros. His defensive power was comparable to that of the elephant armor sect's elephant armor mammoth. However, the Yuji clan was suppressed by the martial soul hall after the Clear Sky sect sealed off the mountain. Xiao Wu, let's go in. Tang San hugged a beautiful girl who seemed to be unconscious. Ning Rongrong looked at the girl, and a tinge of sadness flashed across her eyes. This was Xiao Wu. Although she had not been revived, she had received a gift from the White Crane when Tang San had gathered the Nimble clan. It was an immortal herb that was comparable to a 10,000-year-old 9th-grade ginseng king. After using it, she had returned to her original state. However, her soul had not awakened, and was still in Tang San's 100,000-year soul ring. Oh yes, Sect Master, does Wang Feng, who you mentioned, know how to use a spear? A skinny old man with a sinister expression stood beside Tang San as he spoke. Tang San nodded as he led Xiao Wu into the Tang sect. Brother Feng's martial soul is very special. It can transform into a spear and it's very powerful. Even a titled Douluo can't heal the wounds it causes. Its attack is very strong, and it might not be inferior to clan leader Yang's soul-breaking spear. Yang Wudi snorted when he heard this. He didn't refute, but he didn't think much of it. Tang San didn't say anything when he saw this. Brother Feng hadn't returned yet. Given Yang Wudi's arrogance, he would naturally agree with a few words. They walked into the Tang sect. First, Niu Gao introduced the Tang sect to them. Then, they looked at the various locations of the Tang sect, the various training grounds and rooms. Finally, they sat down in the central meeting hall, and Tang San introduced the current situation of the Tang sect. When they learned that the Tang sect had the support of two other sects, the four clan leaders were shocked. After all, the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect and the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect were both famous sects on the continent. They actually supported a newly established Tang sect. After that, Tang San began to officially divide the Tang sect into different divisions, as well as the functions of each division. There were 5 halls in total, one for each of the 4 clans, one for Ma Hongjun, and one for Ning Rongrong. She was in charge of managing the Tang sect's finances and the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile sect. Oscar and Shinlingqi were in charge of logistics. There will be a titled Douluo joining us in the future. The representative of the Blue Lightning Overlord sect is Dugu Bo, Tang San continued. Tang San felt that it was quite troublesome to manage such a large force. In his previous life, he was only an outer sect disciple, let alone a sect leader. However, Tang San was forced by the current situation. Although he felt that it was troublesome, he did not feel that it was strenuous. On the contrary, he was at ease. After 2 lifetimes of training, he was naturally no longer the Tang sect's outer disciple that he was in his previous life. With the addition of a titled Douluo, the clan leaders of the 4 great clans revealed smiles on their faces. Lastly, is our Tang sect's Grand Elder. Tang San pondered and said, he hasn't returned yet, but his position is also very high. The Grand Elder's job is to supervise the sect leader and the hall masters of each division. If he is found to have violated the sect's rules, he can choose to abolish the sect leader through a vote of several elders. It was similar to the Elders' Hall of the Martial Spirit Palace. Tang San thought that the sect leader could not be the only one in power. There needed to be someone to restrict him. The other 4 clan leaders were slightly silent. The position of Grand Elder was unique in the Tang sect. However, it had to exist. Currently, Wang Feng is our Tang sect's Grand Elder, Tang San continued, but he is not here for the time being. When he returns, I will introduce him to you. Hearing this, the 4 clan leaders frowned slightly but did not say anything. Actually, you don't have to be so confused. When Tang San saw this, he knew what was going on. He smiled and said, a few months ago, Brother Feng stopped the Martial Spirit Palace's operation against the 2 sects and protected them. At the same time, 2 months ago, he defeated the sect leader of the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect, Yu Yuanjin. That's how he gained the support of the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect. His strength is comparable to a titled Doulu. In fact, Tang San felt that the 2 pieces of special metal he would obtain this time could be used to forge a powerful hidden weapon on the Tang sect's hidden weapon ranking. It could also be used to deal with a titled Douluo. However, compared to Brother Feng, Tang San felt that it was more difficult. When the 4 clan leaders heard this, they were stunned. Who was Yu Yuanjin? A rank 96 titled Doulu. He even had a top-tier martial soul like the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. How could he be defeated? These words came from Tang San's mouth, so they could not be false. Suddenly, the 4 clan leaders looked at each other and no longer had any doubts about this position. After the division and matters were settled, the Tang sect was on the right track. Tang San returned to the Shrek Academy and told the Grand Master and the other teachers about the Tang sect. He briefly explained what had happened in the past 2 months and Xiao Wu's matter. Seeing that everything was on the right track, the teachers were very pleased. When they saw that Xiao Wu had returned to her human form, Lu Erlong was so happy that she cried. At the same time, he introduced Oscar's girlfriend, Shun Lingqi, to everyone. Everyone was shocked. Mu Bai Zhuqing plans to return to us after she's done with the things on the other side. Tang San smiled and said, however, Brother Feng's words may have touched her. Mu Bai plans to ally with the Heaven Dou Empire, but it will take some time. Zhuqing plans to support the Tang sect, but there's a lot of resistance. If it doesn't work out, she plans to leave her clan and return to the Shrek's 7 monsters to join the Tang sect. Now we just have to wait for Brother Feng to come back. The Grand Master and the others nodded. The group chatted for a while. At this time, Douluo hurried in. He seemed to have learned that Tang San had returned. When he saw Tang San, he hurriedly said, "Little monster, you're back. You two haven't come back. I'm worried about you." Douluo said with a serious expression, "The Snow Emperor is about to die. Come with me to the palace to check on the situation. I can't hold on any longer. I can't do anything about the Snow Emperor's poison." Tang San was stunned when he heard that. The others were even more shocked. They didn't know about this. Only Tang San knew the details. Now that he heard this, he could understand a little. Unfortunately, Little Madman isn't here. His Golden Lotus has a strong healing ability. Douluo looked at Tang San. I used a stalk of snow god grass from the Icefire Yin Yang well to temporarily stabilize the Snow Emperor's mind. However, it didn't work the second time. The Snow Emperor's mind is weak now. The terrifying poison has completely consumed the Snow Emperor's remaining life force. We can only see if you can help. Tang San's expression turned serious. He thought for a moment, then called Yang Wudi, who was also proficient in medicine, and quickly followed Douluo to the palace. The Snow Emperor was related to the imperial family. If anything happened to the Snow Emperor, the situation on the continent would change instantly. Now that the Tang sect was on the right track, they would be swept away by the wind and rain. Thinking of this, the 3 of them quickly walked to the palace of the Heaven Dou Empire. P.S. Please count votes 4 more chapters. End of chapter. Chapter 658. The 3 of them entered very smoothly. When they entered the Snowy Night Emperor's palace, they were slightly obstructed. However, Tang San had the token given by Xueqinghe, so he walked in without any obstructions. "Little monsters, did you sense it?" Douluo whispered. "That's a group of soldiers made up of soul masters. If they were ordinary soldiers, even if they had soul power fluctuations, they wouldn't exceed rank 30. However, the team outside is above rank 50. They have completely surpassed the strength of the Imperial Guards in the palace." This meant that they weren't the Imperial Guards at all. Looks like it's Xueqinghe's faction. Tang San said in a deep voice, "Only the Martial Spirit Temple is capable. In this place, only the Martial Spirit Temple has such strength. This palace is a little strange." Yang Wudi frowned and said, It's emitting a strange aura. It's too quiet. Why is the Snowy Night Emperor's palace so quiet? The Snowy Night Emperor's palace was very big and looked even more majestic. There were soldiers standing guard all around, and they were all quite strong. However, other than these soldiers, there was no one else. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded slowly from inside. I didn't expect that Tang Yin who was studying in Yuxian to be Tang San. Brother Tang, I didn't expect you to change so much after 5 years. The moment the voice sounded, an elegant figure walked out from the palace. It was the Crown Prince, Xue Qinghe. Seeing this Crown Prince, the surrounding soldiers all knelt down. Xue Qinghe was alone and walked over calmly. However, Tang San frowned slightly. Your Highness, Crown Prince. Tang San bowed slightly to Xue Qinghe. However, Douluo and Yang Wudi didn't care. Their identities were special, so they naturally didn't need to bow to the Crown Prince. Brother Tang, you came in a hurry today. Forgive me for not being a good host. There are many things going on in the palace today, so I can't split myself. Xue Qinghe said calmly. If you want to tour the palace, I'll send my sister, Xue Ku, to accompany you. How about that? It just so happens that she has been thinking about you. Seeing this, Tang San and Douluo looked at each other. That won't be necessary, Tang San said slowly. I already have a lover, and I don't want to make things difficult for Princess Xueka. I'm here today because I heard that the Snowy Night Emperor is seriously ill. I'm here to see if I can treat him. This is the meager strength of our Shrek Academy. After saying this, Tang San suddenly felt that the air seemed to have become heavier. His heart sank. It seemed that Xue Qinghe was indeed up to something. My father is seriously ill. It's not that I don't want Brother Tang to go in and treat him, but my father's spirit is weak, and he can no longer receive any treatment. Xue Qinghe said slowly, I appreciate Brother Tang's kind intentions, but how about we meet in the side hall? Tang San did not answer. Douluo looked at Xue Qinghe as if trying to see through him. Yang Wudi, on the other hand, looked around. Suddenly, Tang San asked, Your Highness, when did you join the Martial Spirit Palace? As soon as he said this, the surroundings fell silent. Xue Qinghe's expression changed, and his voice carried a bit of anger. Brother Tang, why are you accusing me? I'm the Crown Prince of the Heaven Do Empire. When did I join the Martial Spirit Palace? The weapons in the hands of the surrounding soldiers flashed with cold light, and they stood up and aimed at Tang San. If not, then, why are all the soldiers here from the Martial Spirit Palace? Tang San said indifferently, I've seen the commander of the Imperial Guards. Have you forgotten? Now that the Snowy Night Emperor's life is in danger, as the commander, he should be able to protect the Emperor's safety at all times. Why isn't he here? Your Highness, you have too many flaws. Tang San sneered and said slowly, These Imperial Guards are Soul Masters around rank 50. Soul Masters of this level are not the strength of the Imperial Guards. Moreover, the high-level Soul Masters of the Imperial family are all cultivating and studying in the Shrek Academy. When I went to the Shrek Academy today, I found that the high-level Soul Masters of the Imperial family did not disappear. Where did these Soul Masters of yours come from? Other than the Martial Spirit Palace, which other force can produce such powerful Soul Masters? Secondly, the person behind the screen behind you should be a very powerful titled Douluo, right? Tang San pointed at the screen behind Xue Qinghe. Old Poison, do you also feel a very familiar aura? Douluo nodded seriously and said slowly, It's the aura of a titled Douluo from the Martial Spirit Palace. I wonder which titled Douluo it is? Who is standing behind you? You're the Crown Prince of the Heaven Do Empire, and you're actually related to a titled Douluo from the Martial Spirit Palace? Tang San said indifferently, Do you think that makes sense? Thirdly, from your tone, you seem to have just found out about my identity? This is interesting. I've returned to the Shrek Academy for some time. I heard that you went to the academy to recruit Wang Feng a few days ago. Logically speaking, You should know that I'm back, right? Why are you pretending not to know? You're the crown prince. How can you not know about this? Unless you're hiding something and pretending not to know? There's one more thing. The crown prince is the son of the Snowy Night Emperor. Even if you think that there's no hope for us to cure him, you'll still welcome us. At the very least, you'll let us meet the Snowy Night Emperor. But you won't even let us meet the Snowy Night Emperor. Tang San finished slowly and looked at Xuechinghe. At this moment, Xuechinghe's expression kept changing. Finally, he calmed down and suddenly smiled. As expected of the Thousand Arms Azura Tang San of the Shrek's 7 monsters. You can actually see through this so easily. Amazing, amazing, behind the screen behind him. Wang Feng sat quietly and watched Qian Renshue's performance in front of him. He came very early. When Tang San came back, he entered the palace without anyone knowing. However, as they watched Qian Renshue's performance step by step, Tang San and Dugu Bo, who were extremely suspicious of her, slowly discovered her flaws. This woman was really born to be an award-winning actress. On the other hand, the faces of the surrounding soldiers changed at the same time. They were all from the Martial Spirit Palace. To be precise, they were sent by the Pope Palace. They were only responsible for watching Qian Renshue. They were also kept in the dark by Qian Renshue. At this moment, Wang Feng heard Qian Renshue say again, "Tang San, you're a talent. Talents shouldn't be buried here. What I'm doing is actually to let the Heaven Do Empire know as soon as possible. Isn't that good? As for the Martial Spirit Palace, what does it matter? As long as the Heaven Do Empire can be peaceful and avoid more wars, isn't it better for us to side with the Martial Spirit Palace? You know, the Martial Spirit Palace's recent actions are not peaceful. Once the Martial Spirit Palace really makes a move on the continent, there will be a bloodbath. Won't the Heaven Do Empire be able to avoid wars by submitting to the Martial Spirit Palace? I'm thinking for the countless lives of the Heaven Do Empire." End of chapter. Chapter 659. Furthermore, the Martial Spirit Hall also said that as long as we submit to them, the Heaven Do Empire will still have the ability to govern itself. Isn't this better? You are a talent. I know that you have recently established the Tang sect. I promise that as long as you help me ascend to the throne quickly and unify the Heaven Do Empire, I will definitely let your Tang sect flourish on the continent. Wang Feng was stunned as he listened from behind. What the F***ck, that makes sense. The image of a righteous, benevolent crown prince who had no choice but to submit to the Martial Spirit Hall was displayed vividly in just a few words. Wang Feng felt that it made sense. Outside, Tang San was also incomparably shocked. Ridiculous. Tang San thought for a while before shaking his head and saying coldly, "Don't you know what the Martial Spirit Hall is like? Furthermore, you don't have to act like you are serving the country and the people. Do you think that a person who dares to usurp the throne can be trusted? To put it bluntly, you don't even have the most basic bottom line. Humans are humans because they have a bottom line. You don't even have a bottom line. You don't deserve to be called a human." After Tang San finished speaking, there seemed to be some mechanism behind him. A fireball shot directly towards the door outside. It was very fast. With a flash of light, it had already exploded outside. It was a signal flare specially made by the Tang sect. "Your Highness, we have already made it clear. You don't have to be so secretive, do you?" Tang San looked at the soldiers around him. He didn't seem to care at all. Although these soul masters were of high ranks, they had no combat power in front of the old poisonous monster. With the old poisonous monster's poison skills, those who were of lower ranks than him were like reeds blown by the wind. A large number of them fell. Thinking of this, Tang San looked at Xuechinghe quietly. With the old poisonous monster and Yang Wudi's strength, even 2 titled Douluo wouldn't be able to do well here. Not to mention one of them. Even a rank 95 transcendent Douluo might not be able to defend against the two of them. One had to know that the current Douluo was already at rank 94, close to rank 95. So, what kind of trump card did this Xueqinghe have that gave her such confidence? Xueqinghe was silent for a while before he said slowly, "Since that's the case, then don't blame me. Come out." After saying this, a figure walked out from behind the screen. When this figure walked out, Tang San instantly felt as if he was suffocating. Pope Diff in white. Douluo cried out involuntarily. The man before him was dressed in a white robe, and his face was completely covered by a mask. Not even his eyes could be seen. It was the Pope Diff in white, who had been declared dead by the martial spirit palace. Did he come back to life? Tang San was also confused. How was this possible? Back in the Great Star Do Forest, you were in such a perilous situation. How are you still alive, Pope Diff? Even the martial spirit palace had declared him dead. Could it be that all this was fake? The more Tang San thought about it, the gloomier his face became. If that was the case, the people of the martial spirit palace were too cunning. They even used this method to spread the news that Pope Diff the White was dead. He's Pope Diff in white? The soul-breaking spear in Yang Wudi's hand flashed as he looked at the white-robed figure in front of him with a serious expression. A few months ago, the name of Pope Diff in white had shaken the entire continent. It seems like this Xueqinghe is not an ordinary person. Douluo looked at Pope Diff in white with a gloomy gaze. Who is qualified to be protected by Pope Diff in white? What kind of respected status is that? Do it. After saying this, Douluo suddenly let out a fierce roar. 9 soul rings appeared on his body, and he revealed his enormous martial spirit true body. The jade unicorn snake emperor swallowed and spat out a terrifying light, and it directly sprayed a poisonous fog in all directions. With the current jade unicorn snake emperor's poison, the soldiers and soul masters in the surrounding almost instantly had their skin turn black the moment they came into contact with it. The poisonous gas entered their bodies and would quickly corrode their entire body. At the side, Yang Wudi held the soul-breaking spear and directly attacked Pope Diff in white. "Hold them back," Tang San said in a deep voice. "As long as they receive my signal flare, teacher and sect master Ning will quickly rush over. At that time, even if he is Pope Diff in white, he won't be able to escape." After saying that, Tang San stood in place and directly released 2 domains, Blue-Silver Domain and Massacre Domain. It had different degrees of influence and enhancement on Yang Wudi and Douluo. The power of a domain was called a domain because it was controllable within the range. It was a side effect to the enemy, but a positive effect to the allies. It was obvious that the blue-silver domain could let Douluo's poisonous fog spread farther, pervasive and difficult to guard against. Under the wave of the blue-silver grass, all the gas would quickly spread and corrode the soul masters outside. The massacre domain could affect people's minds, and for Yang Wudi, it was naturally an excellent enhancement. His soul-breaking spear had an extremely strong murderous aura, and in the massacre domain, it could unleash even more power. Most importantly, Yang Wudi's 8 soul skills, except for the tool soul true body, were all related to enhancement. On the contrary, Yang Wudi didn't have any obvious active offensive soul skills, but each of his spear had the attack power of a titled Dalu. In Tang San's knowledge, Yang Wudi's soul-breaking spear was only slightly inferior to the sword Douluo in terms of offensive power. It had already reached an extremely terrifying level. At this moment, Yang Wudi's spear was like a cold star, directly attacking White Pope Diff. Wang Feng frowned slightly, and a sharp blade condensed into a sword in his hand. There was no other way. White Pope Diff had always used a sword. If he wanted to play himself, he could only use a sword. The whistling wind exploded. Holding the pitch-black longsword, Wang Feng's figure flashed and disappeared like a fleeting shadow. This was the first time Wang Feng had seen Yang Wudi. This spear attack was indeed very strong. But that was it. If he was only a titled Douluo with a tool soul, he might not be able to compete with him at all. But he wasn't. He was strong in all aspects. No, to be more precise, White Popediff was strong in all aspects. From strength to speed, from reaction to perception. White Popediff's strength could draw with many veteran titled Douluo a few months ago. Now that they had passed through the Great Star Do Forest, it wasn't too much for White Popediff's strength to increase, right? Therefore, Wang Feng's sword slashed sideways, and the 7 Annihilation Swordplay's sword-splitting Southern Mountain condensed into a heaven-splitting sword light. He slashed sideways and directly sent Yang Wudi flying. Fortunately, Yang Wudi condensed the soul-killing spear in front of his chest at the critical moment and barely blocked the sword light. But because of this, he was directly sent flying and vomited blood. So strong. Tang San sucked in a breath of cold air. White Popediff seems to have become stronger again. Did he also have a fortuitous encounter in the Great Star Do Forest? End of chapter. Chapter 660. Tang San knew that the white-clothed Popediff had secretly learned the sword Douluo's 7 kills swordplay when he visited the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Seeing this, Tang San no longer hesitated. He knew that if he couldn't delay the other party at this time, or even let the other party kill him, it would be over. Old poison mist! Tang San shouted fiercely. Douluo roared, and his 8th soul ring suddenly bloomed. Countless green lights scattered in all directions. Time seemed to have frozen. Douluo didn't get close, as if he had experience dealing with the white-clothed Popediff. Instead, he released this time freeze from afar. The white-clothed Popediff's figure suddenly condensed. It was at this moment that Tang San's countless blue-silver Emperor dynasty condensed a long spear and directly used the blue-silver Overlord spear. He didn't use any control-type soul skills. This was because he knew that with his soul power rank, it was impossible for him to control the other party. Only Douluo's time freeze had a chance to control the other party. No matter how strong his blue-silver Emperor was, it was impossible for it to control such a terrifying opponent at this rank. Therefore, he naturally used a powerful attack to attack the other party. God-killing stab. Within the domain, Tang San seemed to have turned into a white light and attacked the white-clothed Popediff. At the same time, Yang Wudi, who had just been sent flying, suddenly enlarged the soul-breaking spear in his hand and attacked the white-clothed Popediff. This move was the Soul True Body. It seemed that Yang Wudi had become much smaller, like a child holding an oversized spear. But its power was absolutely terrifying. The 2 spears were like 2 long dragons rushing towards Wang Feng. One was Tang San's blue-silver Overlord spear, and the other was Yang Wudi's soul-breaking spear. This solidification included Qian Rinxue. Her soul power rank was actually very high. Seeing that the white-clothed Popediff was about to be attacked, Qian Rinxue snorted coldly, and several golden lights bloomed from his body. 6 pairs of silhouettes appeared behind him. Countless rays of golden light suddenly spread out and directly broke through Tang San's 2 domains. Tang San and Yang Wudi's bodies shook. They were directly affected by the golden light and their attacks slowed down by 30%. It was also because of this slight delay that the white-clothed Pope recovered. Douluo's time freeze didn't have a strong effect on him. It only lasted for a few seconds. Domain, be careful! Douluo shouted. This endless golden light was Qian Rinxue's angelic realm. 7 soul rings lit up on his body. Qian Rinxue's soul power undulations had already reached rank 79, close to rank 80. Swoosh! Wang Feng reacted and casually swung his sword to break the 2's attacks. 2 figures were sent flying. Qian Rinxue frowned slightly. She could feel that with Wang Feng's strength, he was obviously holding back. The other party might not be able to sense it, but on second thought, she was the one who asked Wang Feng to pretend to be Popediff. Naturally, he couldn't really be as ruthless as White Pope Diff. After all, 2 of the 3 people on the other side were related to him. Wait a little longer. I have to expose my identity completely. This way, there won't be any more possibilities for me in the future. Qian Rinxue thought in her heart. Don't kill them. She smiled faintly. When a person is about to die, maybe his choice will be different. Wang Feng roughly knew what Qian Rinxue was thinking. Obviously, he wanted to use this opportunity to recruit a wave of people and then really expose his identity. He stood in place and didn't speak. After 2 strikes, Tang San and Yang Wudi both suffered different degrees of injuries, but because of Qian Rinxue's command, he held back some of his strength. Tang San, you said that I have no principles or bottom line. Qian Rinxue smiled. But do you know my true identity? I'm not the real Xueqinghe, so I don't need to follow the bottom line you mentioned. We're just working for 2 different sides. If he's really my father, I naturally can't kill him. Think about what I said just now. I control the Heaven Do Empire just to hurt the people of the Empire. At this point, Qian Rinxue's body shook. Rays of light slowly gathered around her and then retreated. Her original appearance was revealed. Wang Feng thought for a moment. This should be the second time he saw Qian Rinxue's appearance. Her golden hair fluttered in the wind. Her appearance was beautiful. Her facial features were exquisite, like the mixed blood in Wang Feng's memory. Her figure was tall and exquisite, indescribably beautiful. Her temperament was cold and carried the dignity of a superior. This was somewhat similar to Bibidon, but not as good as Bibidon. Her cold eyes carried a sense of majesty, but it was also the most attractive. My name is Qian Rinxue. Qian Rinxue said coldly and arrogantly, think about it now. If you surrender to me, I can still spare your lives. Wang Feng was speechless. Finally, her identity was completely exposed. Wang Feng actually felt that Qian Rinxue was extremely relaxed at this moment. Of course, Tang San and the others couldn't feel it. At this moment, they were more shocked. Okay. Tang San's eyes flashed. As long as you agree to one condition, I'll surrender to you. Qian Rinxue was stunned. She was just saying some polite words to expose her identity, and then leave safely. Tang San didn't look like the kind of person who would surrender to others. After thinking about it, Qian Rinxue knew that Tang San was just trying to stall for time. In order to show that her identity was exposed, Qian Rinxue said slowly, "What condition?" "His Majesty the Pope's order," Tang San said. Hearing this, Qian Rinxue's eyes turned cold. She glanced at Tang San, calculated the time, and said in a cold and ruthless voice, "Kill them! Leave Tang San to me. You deal with the other 2. Seeing this, Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that Qian Rinxue still had some feelings for her mother after all. Otherwise, she wouldn't be a little angry. Wang Fengxin shook his head. Both mother and daughter had the same temperament. Although they seemed ruthless, if they really wanted to kill each other, they would probably jump out to protect each other. Then, the group of people started fighting again. But logically speaking, with Wang Feng's current strength, although he couldn't reveal too much, he had no problem fighting the old poison and Yang Wudi. Although Yang Wudi's soul-breaker spear was very strong, Wang Feng was no different from the real Pope Diff when he activated the power of the blood traces. He had reached the peak in all aspects. Yang Wudi's spear couldn't hit him at all. Moreover, Yang Wudi didn't have that kind of lock-on skill. His mind power was far inferior to Wang Feng's, so he couldn't lock on to Wang Feng at all. Every spear attack would only waste his soul power. The old poison had also become a lot stronger, but Wang Feng's 7-kill swordsmanship was enough to beat him up. However, he naturally couldn't kill him. Qian Rinxue would definitely understand. After all, he was pretending to be the Pope. So soon, the 2 of them were at a disadvantage. It was obvious that they were going to lose. Wang Feng even had the leisure to watch the battle between Tang San and Qian Rinxue. End of chapter. Chapter 661. What surprised Wang Feng was that Tang San had created a special soul skill on his own. It seemed to be a combination of his ghost shadow perplexing track and the wild splitting wind hammer technique. The biggest weakness of the wild splitting wind hammer technique was that the user had to stand in place and continuously hammer. Only then would the power become stronger and stronger, but it was easy to be interrupted. After combining it with the ghost shadow perplexing track, Tang San was able to change his position with every hammer strike and dodge the enemy's attack. Well, it was quite strong. It perfectly weakened the weakness of the wild splitting wind hammer technique. However, Wang Feng felt that Qian Rinxue should be giving him face and did not kill Tang San. Otherwise, with Tang San's injured state just now, even if Tang San used this special soul skill, he would soon be defeated by Qian Rinxue and even die. Qian Rinxue's martial soul was the six-winged angel, and his soul power level was 14 ranks higher than Tang San's. And this was under the condition that Tang San had a 100,000-year soul ring. Even if Tang San dodged 3 attacks with his golden body, the golden body could only be used a limited number of times. Wang Feng was very clear that Qian Rinxue was indeed giving him face by holding back. Her strength was still above Tang San's. However, Qian Rinxue still underestimated Tang San's self-created soul skill. When the last hammer strike trembled in the air, the terrifying force directly exploded. The power brought about by the 81 hammer strikes was extremely abnormal. Even if Qian Rinxue understood the wild splitting wind hammer technique, he had never experienced such a terrifying blow. Her domain was directly shattered. Countless golden lights spread out directly. The huge force of the hammer came crashing down on Qian Rinxue in an instant. In Wang Feng's opinion, Tang San's current strength was actually above the original work. And this hammer strike seemed to be fused with something else. Wang Feng looked at the black halo that flashed by the hammer light and was shocked. It's poison. Xiao San, this fellow is really sinister. It was unknown when, but the clear sky hammer had been infused with poisonous fog. In addition to the poisonous fog that Douluo had just unleashed, every strike of Tang San's hammer had condensed a portion of the poison. After 81 strikes, the clear sky hammer had condensed a terrifying amount of poison. Even if Qian Rinxue didn't die, he would be severely injured. At the crucial moment, Wang Feng sent Douluo flying with a kick and sent Yang Wudi flying with his sword. It was like Wang Feng teleported, arriving in front of Qian Rinxue. Then, he gathered his qi and charged at the descending clear sky hammer like a dragon. The long sword formed by the sharp blades was directly shattered by the force of the hammer. This made Wang Feng frown slightly. When he saw this, Wang Feng tossed his sword aside and smashed his fist directly towards the clear sky hammer. Bang! A muffled groan was heard. The energy was like a meteorite crashing into the sea, exploding in mid-air. The beams of the room were sent flying, and countless pillars in the hall began to crack under the force of the energy. Clang! Following this, Wang Feng took a few steps back. His arm was slightly swollen, and the clear sky hammer was sent flying, embedding itself into a jade pillar. Tang San's face was extremely pale. He stood on the spot and was on the verge of collapsing. He looked at the white-clothed Popediff with a horrified expression. With this person's strength, he actually managed to take on my clear sky hammer with his physical body and arm? Although it was a newly created soul skill and its usage was still a little immature, and its power wasn't maximized, it was still able to be used in the end. You. How are you? Are you okay? Qian Rinxue walked in front of Wang Feng and looked at his red and swollen arm. His expression turned cold, and his tone was filled with killing intent. I'll go and kill him. She felt that she was really angry now. She looked at Tang San and the others now. The 3 of them had lost their ability to fight. Let's retreat first. Wang Feng whispered, I'm only slightly injured. It's not a big deal. Their people should be here soon. Now is the time to retreat. Little Three's wild splitting wind hammer technique was quite powerful. It could actually injure his body slightly. It was not simple. Qian Rinxue was silent. Outside the palace, there were shouts and screams. According to the original plan, it was indeed time to retreat. After all, her identity was completely exposed, and she had achieved her goal. Humph. Qian Rinxue looked at Tang San and the others. Then, he quickly flew up to the roof beam with the white-clothed Popediff and disappeared in midair. Tang San was a little dazed. The white-clothed Popediff is still alive. This is really not good news, Tang San murmured. The other two were also deeply shocked, and their hearts were extremely heavy. Qian Rinxue and Wang Feng quickly destroyed the palace. She had many arrangements in the palace, but they were all soul masters from the Heaven Do Empire. Some of them were transferred from the Martial Spirit Temple. However, in order to prevent her from acting recklessly, Bibidon did not transfer too many soul masters to her. Most of the soul masters from the Martial Spirit Temple listened to her, but they mostly observed her. In addition, there was the 7-treasure glazed tile sect near Heaven Do City. Qian Rinxue and Wang Feng flew all the way out of Heaven Do City. In order to prevent pursuers, Qian Rinxue did not stop. After flying for several hours, Qian Rinxue and Wang Feng finally stopped in the forest outside the city after consuming most of their soul power. His last hammer seemed to contain an extremely strong poison. Qian Rinxue looked at Wang Feng and said in a low voice, "Take off your clothes and let me see. If the poison hasn't entered your body, there should be a way to save you." Wang Feng coughed a few times and said, "The poison is useless to me. Alright, let's stop here. They don't know if we have an ambush, so they won't dare to chase after us. Almost, this plan can be considered a perfect success." Qian Rinxue fell silent. Indeed, this plan could be considered a perfect end, but there was some danger at the last moment. If she had taken that hammer, she would have been in danger. Fortunately, Wang Feng took the attack head-on. From the looks of it, he did not seem to be injured at all. "What are you going to do next?" Qian Rinxue did not leave. Instead, he suddenly asked, "The swordsmanship you used just now, you learned it from the sword Douluo of the 7-treasure glazed tile sect, right? Is he willing to impart his secret skill to you?" "I saved the 7-treasure glazed tile sect. Why can't he impart his secret skill to me?" Wang Feng asked. Qian Rinxue fell silent again. "Then, are you going to join the Tang sect and continue to oppose the Martial Spirit Temple?" Qian Rinxue asked again. This question was not easy to answer. Wang Fengxin said, "What am I going to do next? As for opposing the Martial Spirit Temple, I won't go that far. As long as I can destroy your mother's legacy, the Martial Spirit Temple has nothing to do with me." Of course, Wang Feng would not tell Qian Rinxue this. But at this moment, multiple auras suddenly came from afar. Qian Rinxue still wanted to ask something, but her entire body suddenly exploded. She shouted loudly, "Let's go!" But it was obvious that Qian Rinxue's reaction was too late. Multiple streaks of light descended from the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 6 figures. They were the 6 titled Douluo of the Martial Spirit Temple. "Young Master," His Majesty sent a message. "You were too anxious." The snake spear Douluo shook his head helplessly. "You didn't have to be so anxious. You exposed your identity. The plan is really messed up now." Qian Rinxue looked at the 6 titled Douluo and trembled. He thought, "I'm done for." Wang Feng is done for. He was pretending to be the white-clothed Popediff. 6 titled Dalu are really here now? Since when did she care so much about me? Wang Feng was also a little shocked. It was obvious that Bibidon had discovered Qian Rinxue's plan and was worried. She immediately sent 6 titled Douluo over. Mother and daughter still care about each other. Wang Fengxin shook his head. Are they still related by blood? No matter how much they hated each other, they still cared about each other. Qian Rinxue walked in front of Wang Feng and thought hard about how to get Wang Feng out of this situation. Is there anything else? Qian Rinxue said, if there's nothing else, I'm fine now. You can leave now, however. The six-titled Douluo looked at Wang Feng and seemed to know something. They quickly went down on one knee and said respectfully, Greetings, Pope Diff. Greetings, Your Holiness the Pope. His Holiness the Pope has already informed her of the plan. This trip is precisely for me to wait for you to return to the Pope's palace. After they finished speaking, Qian Rinxue was stunned. What's going on? P.S. Due to the internet delay, this chapter is a little late. Please vote. Mua. End of chapter. Chapter 662. Qian Rinxue's mind was blank for a moment. The reason for this was very simple. The development of the situation was completely beyond Qian Rinxue's expectations. Qian Rinxue did not expect the appearance of six-titled Dalu. This proved that Bibidan had quickly realized the change in her situation. This was expected, because her plan could not have been completely hidden from Bibidan. However, Qian Rinxue did not expect Bibidan to send so many titled Douluo and so quickly. After hearing the words of these six-titled Douluo, Qian Rinxue's mind went blank for a moment. However, an idea flashed through her mind, and she seemed to have understood something. Okay, at this moment, Wang Feng's expression was indifferent, and his tone was extremely calm. I understand. Let me and her rest for a while. You guys wait for a moment and check if there are any titled Douluo chasing after us. His tone was very calm, as if he was the real white-clothed Pope Diff. There was even a hint of arrogance in his voice, and the six-titled Douluo scanned their surroundings respectfully. However, they were not very far away. At this moment, Qian Rinxue walked over. After a moment of silence, she lowered her voice and said, You have to find a chance to leave the pontiff's palace. She is indeed very calculative. I'm afraid that white-clothed Pope Diff is not dead. She used the failure of her plan to announce to the entire continent that white-clothed Pope Diff is dead, and that he is actually hiding in the dark. From what these six Douluo said, I'm afraid that she was the only one who knew this secret. Now that these six-titled Douluo saw you and saw that you were with me, they might have mistaken you for the real white-clothed Pope Diff. At this point, Qian Rinxue said in a low voice, But you can't act forever. If you expose yourself a little, you will be in danger. If you go to the pontiff's palace and the real white-clothed Pope Diff appears, you... Wang Feng looked at Qian Rinxue, but he did not realize it. She actually thought that the six-titled Douluo mistook me for the real white-clothed Pope Diff? Well, from Qian Rinxue's perspective, she would indeed think so. After all, I am with her now. She naturally thought that the six-titled Douluo saw me with her, so they thought that I was white-clothed Pope Diff. Wang Feng's heart skipped a beat. He pretended not to know and asked, Then how do we leave? These six-titled Douluo are nearby, there's no way to leave. I can only go along with the act. Right, did I act like the Pope in white just now? Qian Rinxue's Douluo's glus Qian Rinxue's. Chu, at this moment, Qian Rinxue's, he was S's. He was actually able to portray the aloof and cold demeanor of the white-clothed Pope so vividly. Just like a real person. This guy, no wonder he has so many identities. Feng Yuxiu, Thanos, 91 Kai, no wonder he can act so well. Do you think I look like him? Wang Feng continued to ask. About 80 to 90%. Qian Rinxue whispered, but you don't have the abilities of white-clothed Pope Diff. Just his aura is useless. It's too easy to be exposed. No, it's obvious from their words that she wants to summon white-clothed Pope Diff, who is on a secret mission, back. White-clothed Pope Diff's whereabouts are mysterious. These six-titled Douluo don't know, or you would have been exposed. She must have sent other titled Douluo to summon white-clothed Pope Diff. If you return to the pontiff's palace, You will be exposed no matter what. Qian Rinshue's guess was right. It was impossible for these 6 titled Douluo to know white-clothed Popetiff's whereabouts. Bibidan's plan was told to them before they set off. They were to come to Heaven-Do City to protect Qian Rinshue, and then find white-clothed Popetiff. Even Bibidan didn't know white-clothed Popetiff's exact whereabout. Bibidan said that if white-clothed Popetiff went to Heaven-Do City, it was best not to let her know Wang Feng's exact location. If even Bibidan could hide from her, then no one else could know white-clothed Popetiff's whereabouts and hiding. This made it easier to carry out the plan. This was a kind of extreme trust. Before they came, Bibidan had reminded them. Therefore, Wang Feng didn't contact Bibidan for the past 2 months. He only contacted Qian Rinshue. Logically speaking, if this white-clothed Popetiff was really someone else in disguise, these 6 titled Douluo wouldn't be able to recognize him as long as he acted well. This was because they didn't know where white-clothed Popetiff was. Now that they saw white-clothed Popetiff protecting their young master, they naturally thought that he was the real white-clothed Popetiff. Bibidan only told them that white-clothed Popetiff wasn't really dead. He was just carrying out a secret mission in Heaven-Do City and asked him to return to the Martial Spirit Hall. In other words, these 6 titled Douluo didn't necessarily know that white-clothed Popetiff was the real white-clothed Popetiff, and that Qian Rinshue had asked him to impersonate him. Although white-clothed Popetiff was Wang Feng's impersonation. This was also why Qian Rinshue thought this way. It had to be said that Qian Rinshue was very quick to deduce all this with just a few words. "What do you have in mind?" Wang Feng asked. "How about this? You stay with me for the next 2 days. Qian Rinshue pondered for a moment and said, "Try your best to avoid contact with these 6 titled Douluo. The more you interact with them, the more you'll be exposed." Wang Feng. That makes sense. In their eyes, you saved me after all, so I'm grateful to you. Therefore, it's only right that you stay with me. They won't have any objections. Qian Rinshue continued, "Then, I'll find an opportunity to make you leave." "That seems to make sense." Wang Feng frowned and said, "But don't forget that white-clothed Popetiff is an ascetic, solitary powerhouse. He doesn't get close to women and stays intimately with them. White-clothed Popetiff won't accept that." Qian Rinshue. That makes sense. Qian Rinshue was still very familiar with this white-clothed Pope. Although she had only met him once, she had learned about this number 2 figure of the Martial Spirit Palace through various channels. He cultivated with all kinds of emotions and auras, but he couldn't sense any emotions himself. He was an emotionless person. He was extremely talented, had terrifying abilities, and was very strong. "How about this? I'll pretend to have a good impression of you, like you. I'll pester white-clothed Popetiff. This way, they won't have anything to say." Qian Rinshue's tone fluctuated slightly, but she still said it calmly. "That won't do. You're the young master of the Martial Spirit Palace. If you do that, won't your image be ruined?" Wang Feng quickly shook her head and said, "As the young master of the Martial Spirit Palace, you're noble, dignified, elegant, and indifferent. How can you pester him? This doesn't match your image and temperament. They might even suspect that you're someone else pretending to be you, or even feel that it's even stranger." Qian Rinshue frowned. "That makes sense." End of chapter. Chapter 663. "So that's what you think of me?" Qian Rinshue suddenly glanced at Wang Feng. "Did you do that on purpose in the Great Star Do Forest? Did you beat me up because you didn't like me? You must have felt good when you beat me up, right? After all, how could you beat up a noble, dignified, elegant, and indifferent person like me?" "Wang Feng, sister, what are you talking about? That was a long time ago." Qian Rinshue was talking about when Wang Feng first awakened the soul-slaying spear and awakened the Dark Angel martial soul in the Great Star Do Forest. Then, he met the Qian Rinshue. Then, some stories happened. But what Qian Rinshue said was really damn accurate. Wang Feng did have a good time beating him up. After all, he always knew Qian Renshue's identity. He didn't expect Qian Renshue to remember it so clearly and still remember it in her heart. These women really hold grudges. Wang Fengxin was a little embarrassed. Of course, he couldn't admit it. How is this possible? Wang Feng was surprised. You were the crown prince Xueqinghe back then. Compared to you now, it's like heaven and earth. Where did the noble, dignified, elegant, and indifferent come from? I can't even recognize you. How can I have such thoughts? Don't slander me. I thought you were an enemy. The sharp light in Qian Renshue's eyes faded a little, but he frowned and said, You don't know? When you were 6 years old, I saw you and gave you a token of mine. Then, in the Great Soul Arena in Soto City, you touched. I used my martial soul at that time. How can you not recognize it? The angel martial soul is unique. How can you not recognize it? Men like to quibble. Qian Renshue looked at Wang Feng coldly, as if he had seen through him. Wang Feng, sister, don't go too far. However, Qian Renshue's aura was really strong. She was so much better than Ning Rongrong. Even Zhu Zhuqing couldn't compare. Thinking of this, Wang Feng suddenly felt that the Qian Renshue in front of him was not that fragrant. Rongrong is still the best. She's beautiful, gentle, gullible, and easy to coax. Zhu Qing is obedient and sensible. Wang Fengxin suddenly had this thought, and then he scolded himself. Wang Feng, you stinking scumbag, what are you thinking? Do you still have that token? Qian Renshue suddenly asked. Wang Feng thought for a moment before retrieving it from his soul tool. Qian Renshue furrowed his brow when he saw this, but he still nodded. The coldness in his eyes lessened a little. Seems like you've been keeping it? Qian Renshue asked calmly, Why don't you throw it away? It's such a pity to throw it away. I can sell it for money when the time comes. Wang Feng shook his head and said, Now that I know who you are, I'll keep it for now. Maybe it'll be useful to me. Qian Renshue was silent for a moment before saying, Since you know it'll be useful, don't keep it in your soul tool. Keep it with you so that you won't have a chance to use it if you forget about it. That makes sense. I'll listen to you. Wang Feng placed it in his arms. At this moment, the 6 titled Douluo seemed to have finished their patrol and quickly returned. Qian Renshue quickly walked to Wang Feng's side and leaned in closer. Their arms touched and they seemed a little intimate. Let's go. You guys take the front. Popediff and I will take the back. If there's nothing important, don't disturb us. I have something important to discuss with Popediff. Qian Renshue glanced at the 6 of them. The 6 of them were stunned. They looked at the 2 of them with strange expressions. However, they seemed to have thought of something and didn't say anything. They quickly flew towards the pontiff's palace. Old Ghost, I think the young master has gotten together with Popediff. In midair, the Douluo whispered, The young master was sent to the Heaven Do Empire's palace at such a young age. Her plan failed, and she almost got into an accident. If Lord Popediff didn't appear in time to save her, the situation wouldn't be good. Will it be because of this? What does it have to do with you? Why do you care so much? The Gue Douluo chuckled. Given the young master's strength and pride, no one is worthy of her. Isn't it good that she's together with Popediff? Can't you tell what the pontiff is thinking? He wants to tie His Majesty Popediff to the Martial Soul Hall. The Douluo nodded. This old ghost is a 10,000-year-old single dog. I didn't expect him to think of this. However, given Lord Popediff's personality, I don't think it'll work out. The Douluo shook his head. It wasn't just the 2 of them. The other titled Douluo were also thinking the same thing. The 6 of them opened up a path in front, while Qian Renshue and Wang Feng followed behind. Are you really coming? Wang Feng looked at Qian Renshue, who was walking side by side with him, and whispered, Why don't we forget about it? I don't think they'll be suspicious. With my acting skills, there won't be any problems. Qian Renshue looked at Wang Feng and said calmly, Do you think I want to do this? Isn't it so that you can find a chance to sneak away? Do you think I'll really like you? Of course not. I'm so strong and so outstanding. You're not worthy of me, Wang Feng said. Qian Renxue glared at Wang Feng. At that moment, Qian Renxue suddenly thought of the arrogant Feng Yuxiu in the cave. This guy really hasn't changed at all. Qian Renxue was silent for a moment and said calmly, "You're strong and outstanding. But it doesn't matter. I don't need to be worthy of you. My ideal man is a strong man like the white-robed Popetiff, not you. Otherwise, why do you think I asked you to pretend to be him?" Wang Feng looked at Qian Renxue and thought, "Who are you kidding? You've only seen the white-robed Popetiff once. Since when did he become your ideal man?" "I didn't know that your ideal man is someone who doesn't even have feelings." Wang Feng shook his head and said, "I don't know if it's true or not." Qian Renxue's lips curled up. "Do you care? Whether it's true or not, it has nothing to do with you." "Of course it does. If it's true, then it's too difficult for me." Wang Fengxin sighed. Seeing that Wang Feng didn't answer, Qian Renxue seemed to be a little relieved, and her cold cheeks also became a little gentler. The two of them walked side by side, but Qian Renxue didn't act recklessly and didn't do anything out of line in order to maintain her image in the hearts of the people in the martial spirit palace. The two of them walked a little closer together, side by side. But for the other 6 titled Douluo, they vaguely understood something and didn't disturb the two of them. The plan was the same as Qian Renxue's, and there were no accidents. In a city not far from the martial spirit city, that night, Qian Renxue and Popetiff were in the same big hotel room on the pretext of discussing some matters. "Leave here quietly tonight," Qian Renxue said in a deep voice. "They haven't come to talk to you for the past 2 days, which means they've tacitly agreed. Tonight is the best chance. If you don't leave, you'll go to the Pope's palace tomorrow. She won't let you leave so easily this time. You can hide from these 6 titled Douluo, but you can't hide from her. Leave when it's late at night." End of chapter. Chapter 664. From Qian Renxue's perspective, Wang Feng was able to fool the 6 titled Douluo because they didn't know anything about him. However, she definitely understood the white-clothed Pope extremely well. She definitely knew all of the white-clothed Pope's plans, so it was simply impossible to hide them from her. Wang Feng nodded slightly when he heard this. At this juncture, he was about to meet Bibidon. It was only a matter of time before he entered the Rakshasa's secret realm. He didn't want his identity to be exposed. He could just leave for the Pope's palace. "Be careful," Wang Feng said. After that, he concealed his aura and left the room. Under the moonlight, Wang Feng quickly disappeared from Qian Renxue's line of sight. Qian Renxue heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. "As long as he leaves, she won't be able to say anything even if I find someone to impersonate Popetiff. It's fine as long as she doesn't know who he is." Qian Renxue was a little lost when he thought about the past few days. After that, he became clear again. Qian Renxue didn't interact much with Wang Feng over the past few days to prevent the 6 titled Douluo from seeing through Wang Feng's disguise. However, the 6 titled Douluo felt that the two of them were very close. The next day, "Young master, where's Popetiff?" The snake spear Dalu was shocked to see Qian Renxue alone. He said that he had something urgent to attend to last night. "He went to the Pope's palace first," Qian Renxue said calmly. The 6 titled Douluo nodded. They weren't too confused. After all, they were very close to the Pope's palace. Qian Renxue followed the 6 titled Douluo back to the Pope's palace. It was almost noon. Golden sunlight shone on the majestic Pope's palace. It was as if a holy veil had been draped over it. It was very beautiful, just like heaven. Qian Renxue looked at the Pope's palace with a mocking look on his face. After that, Qian Renxue took a deep breath and walked into the Pope's palace. In the spacious Pope's palace, there was a person standing tall in front. Qian Rinxue walked forward expressionlessly and said calmly, "Your Highness." Bibidon turned around and looked at Qian Rinxue. He was silent for a long time as he looked at his daughter. "According to the plan, you could have successfully ascended to the throne. Why did you do this?" Bibidon's palace. The Emperor's palace's plans. If I didn't ascend to the throne, the 2 empires and the 7 sects, it would have been 2 have to. Wang s Rinxueti ses. He s to teet assessed s. To test s of s. But Bibidon's ss didn't fall. Her daughter was the only one who dared to talk to her like that in the martial spirit palace. "Do you know that your life was hanging by a thread this time?" Bibidon took a deep breath. "If I hadn't, forget it. We didn't lose any strength. The plan could still be carried out." Bibidon said in a deep voice, "You should thank Popeye for this. You should thank the Pope properly this time. If I had allowed him to infiltrate Heaven-Do City, you would have been dead by now." Qian Rinxue's heart was in turmoil. Popeye in white had been lurking in Heaven-Do City all this time? No wonder she wasn't surprised that Wang Feng, disguised as Popeye in white, had saved her. "Come in." Bibidon tapped the ground with his scepter, making a few crisp sounds. A man walked out from the other side of the door. He was dressed in white, spotless clothes, and emitted an aura that seemed to be in harmony with heaven and earth. Qian Rinxue's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. The Popeye in white that Wang Feng had impersonated was indeed different from the real Popeye in white. It was difficult for Wang Feng to impersonate that unique aura. "I heard from the snake spear Douluo and the others." Bibidon looked at the 2 of them and frowned slightly. She didn't expect that her daughter would develop some special feelings for this Popeye in white because of this matter. But it made sense. After all, he had saved her life. Qian Rinxue's heart skipped a beat when she saw the figure. She had already prepared the words in her heart. The real Popeye in white would definitely expose him. But Qian Rinxue wasn't afraid. Wang Feng had already left. No one knew who she had found to impersonate Popeye in white. "It's my job. You don't have to thank me." The Popeye in white only shook his head calmly. Qian Rinxue looked at the Popeye in confusion. "He didn't expose me? That's impossible." Qian Rinxue thought about it, but he couldn't figure it out. He admitted it just like that? Qian Rinxue was a little shocked. "Help me hide it? What does he want to do?" Bibidong nodded and looked at Qian Rinxue. His powerful aura suddenly pressed down on her. "From today onwards, you will be in the Pope's palace. I have another mission for you." Hearing this, Qian Rinxue frowned and sneered. "I'm sorry, Your Highness. I only listened to my grandfather's orders. I won't be in your Pope's palace. I don't want to disgust you, right? From today onwards, I will only be in the Elder's palace. You can't control me, and I don't want to participate in any of your missions. That's it." After saying that, Qian Rinxue turned around and walked away. With every step she took, a little bit of blood flowed out of her mouth. Bibidon's aura was so strong that if she wanted to leave directly under her pressure, she would naturally be hurt. Bang! Qian Rinxue closed the door. Seeing this, Bibidon was stunned. Her face turned red and then white. She turned around abruptly, not letting the Popeye in white see her ugly face, as well as the helplessness and tears in her eyes. "Take a look at her for me. Come back later." Bibidon's voice was still calm. Wang Feng nodded. It seemed that the relationship between mother and daughter was very bad. Wang Feng walked out quickly and caught up with Qian Rinxue, who was about to go to the Elder's palace. "Popeye is looking for me?" Qian Rinxue said calmly with tears in her eyes. "Young master, you seem to have changed very quickly. Weren't you close with the other Popeye in white 2 days ago?" Wang Feng's tone was also calm, but his words were shocking. Qian Rinxue's expression changed. She looked sharply at Wang Feng and then shook her head. "What is Popeye trying to say? Are you trying to say that someone impersonated you to get close to me? Sorry, I don't know you well." If someone really impersonated you to get close to me, I wouldn't be able to tell. Why can't I get close to the person who saved me? Of course, Qian Rinxue wouldn't admit that she hired someone to impersonate Popeye in white. Otherwise, wouldn't she be indirectly admitting that she was the mastermind behind the Heaven Dou imperial family's plan? Since Wang Feng had left, Qian Rinxue wasn't afraid that Wang Feng would be exposed and arrested. End of chapter. Chapter 665. It seems that young master really thinks that I, the white-clothed Popetiff, am blind in Heaven Dou City? The white-clothed Popetiff's voice was still calm. But it was so calm that it made Qian Rinxue's heart jump. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Qian Rinxue's expression didn't change. Wang Feng. The white-clothed Popetiff said 2 words. Qian Rinxue's pupils shrank. I've been lurking in Heaven Dou City for 3 months. Young master, although you did it secretly, it's impossible to hide everything from me. The white-clothed Popetiff said slowly, although I don't know why you sabotaged your own plan and let Wang Feng pretend to be me. But now that it's already happened, I won't care about it. Wang Feng is the enemy of the Martial Spirit Palace, so he's naturally my enemy. Qian Rinxue stared at the white-clothed Popetiff. A chill rose in his heart. This person is too scary. He probably noticed something a long time ago. Qian Rinxue didn't say a word, neither admitted nor denied it. Wang Feng wasn't present, so he could say whatever he wanted. As long as there was no evidence, it didn't matter. Forget it, it seems that young master still doesn't believe me. At this moment, the white-clothed Popetiff suddenly took out a token from his arms. Seeing this token, Qian Rinxue's heart beat violently, and he felt a little suffocated. That night, after you let him leave, I've been following him. I fought with him. The white-clothed Popetiff's tone fluctuated a little. This boy is very strong. With a cultivation of more than level 60, he dared to fight with me. But he was still a little weak after all. I didn't kill him and he escaped. However, this command medallion was left behind. Young master, are you still going to keep silent? Of course, I spared this scumbag's dog life because of you, the white-clothed Popetiff said lightly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had any chance to leave alive. After hearing this, Qian Rinxue subconsciously clenched his hands. This white Popetiff was truly terrifying. Feel it. The bloodstains on the medallion are still warm. If young master still doesn't want to admit it, then I can only bring his head back next time. White Popetiff said slowly. Then, he handed the token to Qian Rinxue. Qian Rinxue took the token expressionlessly. What do you want? Qian Rinxue asked. Qian Rinxue did not say anything after his plan was exposed. It was obvious that the other party had conditions. Otherwise, he would have exposed her in front of her instead of hiding it for her. It's very simple. Listen to His Highness the Pope more in the future. The white-robed Popetiff's tone was indifferent. His Majesty the Pope trusts me so much. I can't let His Majesty the Pope down. Plus, it was my negligence this time. Otherwise, your plan wouldn't have been implemented at all. Upon hearing this, Qian Rinxue turned around and left without saying a word. Also, I advise young master not to have any feelings for this guy. The white-robed Popetiff looked at Qian Rinxue's back. His voice was calm and emotionless. Based on my observation in Heaven Dou City, and my previous experience of pretending to be this guy has at least attracted 2 girls who are dead set on him. He still wants to have 1 foot in 2 boats. What a scumbag. You 2 are on opposite sides. If you fight in the future, you'll only be the one who gets hurt. The white-robed Popetiff did not say anything. Qian Rinxue paused and said indifferently, ridiculous. Since Popetiff has been observing, can't he see that I'm just acting? How can I have feelings for him? With that, Qian Rinxue quickly left. Wang Feng looked at Qian Rinxue and thought, this is all I can do for now. He sighed and returned to the Pope's palace. In order to not expose his identity, and not arouse Qian Rinxue's suspicion, Wang Feng could only think of this method for now. Otherwise, why didn't he, the white-robed popediff, who had never interacted with his young master, expose the fact that she found someone to pretend to be the white-robed popediff? Why did he have to help her hide it? If Wang Feng didn't do this, Qian Rinxue would definitely suspect him. Bibidon turned around and asked, "How is she?" After some adjustments, Bibidon had returned to normal, but his eyes were a little red. "Fortunately, she said that she won't quarrel with you in the future. Give her some time," Wang Feng replied. Bibidon was stunned. He looked at Wang Feng, and there was a little more emotion in his eyes. "Very good. Prepare in the Pope's palace for the next few days. I'll take you to a special place." Wang Feng nodded slightly. Finally, he could enter the Rakshasa's secret realm. "That's the situation." In the Shrek Academy, Tang San recounted everything that happened in the Imperial Palace. After he finished, everyone fell into silence. The white-robed popediff was still alive. This news was too shocking, especially for Shrek and the others in the Great Star Do Forest. How could he have survived in that situation? So, it was the Martial Spirit Palace who deliberately released false information? Ma Hongjun scratched his head. Just to deceive us? In fact, they let the white-robed popediff hide in the dark and wait for the opportunity to attack us again? They even hid beside Xueqinghe's crown prince. This crown prince Xueqinghe was actually impersonated by the Martial Spirit Palace for so many years. It's terrifying. Oscar felt his scalp tingle when he thought about it. The rest of the people were silent. But fortunately, Tang San saw through Xueqinghe's scheme in time. Ning Fengji sighed. Tang San shook his head. "If Uncle Ning didn't come in time, I'm afraid we would have all died there." The Qian Rinxue, who impersonated Xueqinghe, looked about the same age as us. Her actual age might be slightly higher, but she was a soul sage. Most importantly, she was extremely powerful. I vaguely felt that she didn't want to kill us. Maybe she still wanted to recruit me. That was why I took advantage of the loophole and used the disorder-splitting wind hammer technique. But even so, I couldn't kill her when I used 9 nines to 1. Her martial soul had 3 pairs of wings. It was a type of 6-winged angel martial soul. It was very powerful. She also had an extremely powerful innate domain. What puzzled me the most was her disguise. Xueqinghe's martial soul was the inheritance of the imperial family, the swan martial soul. But she was able to fool everyone. This meant that she had an extremely powerful disguise soul skill. Tang San finished speaking in one breath. He couldn't help but recall the past and was shocked. A 6-winged angel martial soul. Ning Fengji muttered. This is the inheritance martial soul of the Martial Spirit Palace. The previous pope was also a 6-winged angel. This Qian Rinxue is very likely the descendant of the previous pope. The descendant of the pope was the core of the Martial Spirit Palace. The core of the Martial Spirit Palace had been hidden in the Heaven Do Empire for more than 20 years. She was even about to take over the Heaven Do Empire. Everyone felt a chill down their backs when they thought about it. End of chapter. Chapter 666. The camouflage soul skill should have come from her soul bone. It should be a special soul bone. Grandmaster's voice was a little hoarse. I once stayed in the Martial Spirit Hall for a while. This soul bone is the complete set of soul bones I told you about before. It's called the Angel God outfit. There are 6 pieces in total, and each piece is the most compatible soul bone. If you can completely absorb them, you will be able to unleash great power. Little San, you have to be careful in the future. This Qian Rinxue will become your greatest enemy. Angel God outfit. Tang San already knew how powerful this set of soul bones was when he was called a god. His expression was very serious. But you don't have to be so nervous. Grandmaster shook his head. If you want to completely absorb this Angel God outfit, you have to reach rank 100 soul power. That realm is not something that ordinary people can achieve. In addition to talent, you also need luck and opportunity. Hearing this, Tang San was stunned again. He felt a little relieved. Tang San had heard the sword Douluo Yu engine, and other veteran titled Douluos talk about titled Douluo before. Titled Douluo of this level naturally knew the difference between titled Douluo and Yu engine. It was very difficult to reach that legendary level. Next, you have to work hard to cultivate. The palace has changed. But fortunately, you saved the Snowy Night Emperor in time, so he is still alive. When the Snowy Night Emperor recovers a little every day, Tang San and Sect Master Ning will enter the palace. Grandmaster instructed, when you come back, we will discuss how to improve your cultivation speed. Unfortunately, Lin Feng is not here now. Otherwise, the situation would be different now. The Snowy Night Emperor's condition was not as serious as Tang San and Dugu Bo had thought. After the Qianrenxue was defeated, Tang San and Dugu Bo entered the palace and found that the Snowy Night Emperor still had about half a month of life left. But it was impossible to save him. They could only say that the Snowy Night Emperor's body recovered a little so that he could make arrangements for his death. But for the imperial family this was a great contribution. But when they heard Grandmaster mention Wang Feng, everyone was speechless. Every time this kid ran away, he would disappear for a few months. I wonder if Big Brother Feng has found his soul beasts in the north? Tang San shook his head and sighed softly. After Qianrenxue left the white-robed Popediff, he held the token tightly in his hand and walked into the Elder's Hall without saying a word. Elder's Hall. Only titled Douluo with soul power above rank 90 were qualified to enter. It was also the highest authority of the Martial Spirit Palace. The Hall of Elders was also very quiet. When Qianrenxue walked in, it was as if he had entered another dimension. Countless voices were dispersing. Until Qianrenxue saw a gray-robed old man in the middle of the hall. The old man stood under a statue of a six-winged angel, seemingly praying quietly. He faced Qianrenxue and seemed to have been waiting for a long time. It was Thousand Daos Flo, the great consecrator of the Elder Hall. Grandfather, Qianrenxue's cold face finally softened. A smile appeared on his face, but he still looked a little tired. I'm back. The gray-robed old man opened his eyes with a hint of kindness. It's good that you're back. Why do you look so bitter? Did that Popediff bully you just now? Hearing this, Qianrenxue was stunned. Grandfather, do you know that just now? Qianrenxue was puzzled. How can grandfather not know? Qianrenxue snorted coldly. Don't I know you well? When you came back, I felt that you didn't want to pretend anymore. Your mother also saw it, so she removed the titled Douluo from your side to make it difficult for you to escape. Qianrenxue was silent. Those plans were made by you, right? Qianrenxue had lived for a long time. How could he not know what his most beloved granddaughter was thinking? Your mother might know something, but she didn't say anything. She didn't expect you to do this. Qianrenxue sighed. He walked to Qianrenxue and patted her head. That white Popediff isn't simple either. When he came back last time, he brought back a 100,000-year soul beast for your mother. You can say that he completely gained her trust. After that, your mother sent him to Heaven Do City. She didn't even tell me, but I can guess that she did it to protect you. Child, do you know? Hearing this, Qianrenxue was slightly stunned. I know that you're back. Qianrenxue said slowly. That white Popediff is indeed very powerful and very special. He is also very loyal to the Martial Spirit Palace. If you two really have feelings for each other, grandfather will support it. Qianrenxue. Hearing this, Qianrenxue knew that his grandfather only guessed that he was the one who made the plan based on his understanding of him. It seemed that his grandfather didn't know that he asked Wang Feng to pretend to be white Popediff. This information was probably leaked by the six-titled Doulu. The only one who knew that he used Wang Feng to pretend to be white Popediff was the real white Popediff. But if he dares to bully you, you can tell grandfather. Qian Rinshue's tone changed. He said coldly, although he is very strong, I can still deal with him. Qian Rinshue shook his head and said, No, I'm not. I'm only interested in my Pope. At this point, Qian Rinshue thought of White Popetiff's words and couldn't help but snort. I don't want to compete with her anymore. Qian Rinshue's voice was filled with determination. But I won't acknowledge her as my mother. Grandfather, I want to quickly absorb the second soul bone. I want to become stronger. I don't want the people I care about to be hurt or in danger anymore. Hearing this, Qian Rinshue was slightly stunned. He laughed and said, Of course. It seems that Xiao Shui has someone she cares about now. But don't blame your mother. Her pain might be much more than you think. At this point, Qian Rinshue's eyes flashed with helplessness. Qian Rinshue frowned slightly but didn't reply. Your mother's strength is not inferior to mine now. She has even gathered a peerless character like the white-clothed Pope. Grandfather has no choice but to admit that she is many times stronger than your father, especially the current her. Qian Rinshue looked at the Pope's palace with a strange light in his eyes. You have inherited her talent and a part of her blood flows in your body. You can't escape this relationship. I only hope that one day, when you truly accept her, she will no longer be in this world. When that time comes, it will be too late for regrets. Qian Rinshue's eyes were filled with vicissitudes. Hearing this, Qian Rinshue's body trembled. However, he still stubbornly refused to speak. The elder's palace was extremely quiet. In the Pope's palace, Bibidon changed into a rarely seen casual outfit. He wasn't wearing his usual luxurious Pope robe. Wang Wu, come with me. Bibidong looked down at the white-clothed man below the stage and slowly said, I'm not going to let you go. I'll take you to see another level of strength. P.S. Yes, there are 4 more updates. You can read them tomorrow morning if you're not in a hurry. But you can vote first. End of chapter. Chapter 667. Seeing Bibidon in casual clothes, Wang Feng knew where she was taking him. However, although it was said to be casual, it was actually very gorgeous. Sure enough, women, no matter how old they were, loved to be beautiful. While thinking, Wang Feng followed Bibidon's footstep. What kind of place was the Rakshasa's secret realm? Wang Feng couldn't help but think. Could it be the same place as the massacre city? The place I'm taking you to is called the Rakshasa's secret realm. Bibidon walked unhurriedly with Wang Feng. The two walked out of the back of the Pope's palace. They walked into the distance, but they didn't seem to have left the martial spirit city. Rakshasa Mystic Realm? Although Wang Feng already knew about it, hearing Bibidong say it out loud was a different feeling. That's right, Bibidong continued. This is a secret realm where the god's inheritance is. You have been to the massacre city before. In fact, that place is also a special place where the god's inheritance is. Ordinary soul masters can't go there at all. At this point, Bibidong suddenly laughed. The laughter was very cold. But Wang Feng seemed to understand something. Bibidong seemed to have been to the massacre city before. Since the massacre city was the place where the god's inheritance was, with Bibidon's talent and potential, she should be valued. And if nothing unexpected happened, obtaining the massacre god domain should be the reason why she was chosen as the inheritor. However, the massacre god domain that Wang Feng obtained at that time was directly absorbed by the power of the blood pattern, causing the 7th blood pattern to not fully awaken. Different gods' inheritance places are different. Bibidong said slowly, in our martial spirit palace, there is also a god's inheritance place. At this point, Bibidong paused and didn't continue. Wang Feng knew that the inheritance place of the angel god seemed to be inside the Pope's palace. Wang Feng guessed that it should be in the Elder's palace where the Thousand Dao sect was. Thinking of this, Wang Fengxin's heart moved. It seemed that the angel god and Rakshasa god were opposing each other? No wonder Bibidon and Thousand Tao sect were afraid of each other. The power of God is mighty. Bibidon's eyes glowed with a special light. But the stronger the power, the higher the requirement for us. Martial soul, soul ring, soul bone, none of these can be missing. At the same time, it requires extremely tenacious willpower. Bibidon's words could be said to have touched on the deepest secret in her heart. However, with her current trust in Wang Feng, and the fact that they had already discussed this before, there was not the slightest bit of distance between them. Many years ago, when I went to the capital of Massacre, I actually had the opportunity to inherit the god's inheritance there. A trace of unwillingness flashed across Bibidon's eyes. It's a pity that the guardian deity is not on good terms with me. Wang Feng thought about it and roughly knew who she was talking about. But later on, I still managed to obtain the legacies of other gods. Bibidon's tone was somewhat cold. You can still obtain great power. It's just that the inheritance of the gods here took too long. Because it requires too much strength, I hunt 100,000-year soul beasts to increase my strength. Aren't your soul rings full? Wang Feng pretended not to know. I have twin martial souls. I need to make my second martial soul stronger. Bibidon said plainly, as if saying that twin martial souls were as worthless as cabbages. Wang Feng. However, I do have to thank you. Bibidon's voice carried a bit of joy. Your 100,000-year soul beast is very important. Firstly, this soul beast is very suitable for me. Secondly, I just happen to lack this 100,000-year soul beast. With this soul beast, I have the confidence to pass the 8th trial. After passing it, I will probably lack the soul rings of 200,000-year soul beasts to truly cross that hurdle. In other words, Bibidon's second martial soul now also has 9 soul rings? Wang Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. If he obtained 2 more 100,000-year soul beasts, he would have 10 soul rings. This meant that Bibidon could completely bear the power of the Rakshasa god. Thinking of this, Wang Feng couldn't help but look at Bibidon. Twin martial souls, double title Douluo? The power attached to soul rings was extremely powerful. Similarly, the stronger the soul ring, the higher the physical requirements of the soul master. Bibidon's current physical strength, Wang Feng suspected that it was far stronger than his. Twin martial souls were attached with soul rings. To be able to withstand the power of so many soul rings, one could imagine how powerful Bibidon's strength was. But in terms of spiritual power, she may not be stronger than me, Wang Feng thought to himself. After learning about Bibidon's specific strength, Wang Fengxin was a little anxious. It seemed that Bibidon's strength was a little too strong. This little 3 and the others had yet to get in touch with this deity position, and Bibidon was already about to become the Rakshasa god? At this time, while chatting, Bibidon had already brought Wang Feng to a wooden house in the forest hundreds of meters away from Martial Spirit City. Although it was called a wooden house, it was more like a secret room. Looking up, one could see the Pope's palace on the mountain peak in the distance. After entering this wooden house, Wang Feng suddenly discovered that Bibidon's aura had become extremely evil and pure. Her entire body was emitting a vicious aura that seemed to have materialized and was as thick as mist. Rakshasa Mystic Realm. If you want to enter this place, you need to release the evil in the deepest part of your heart and recall the things that you are most unwilling to face. Bibidon's voice was a little hoarse. Wang Feng discovered that her eyes were a little blood-red. There is no evil in my heart, Wang Feng said. Bibidon. That's right, I forgot. Bibidon suddenly smiled. You can't feel any emotions. You are indifferent to everything, pure and simple. Your heart is empty. No matter how many people you kill, no matter how dirty you are, you won't feel any evil. Then what should I do? Wang Feng asked. Bibidon pondered. Before coming, she had never considered this problem. This was because Wang Wu was too special. At this time, Wang Feng suddenly said, "Why don't you share some of your evil with me?" Bibidon. How could she share it? I have a kind of domain. Wang Feng continued. It's called the original sin domain. My body absorbs all kinds of emotions and auras and condenses them. In this domain, any living being that is weaker than me will be affected by the 7 different emotions and go crazy. In this domain, I can probably accept other people's emotions. If you can release your evil in my domain, then I can use it to feel evil. Wang Feng's words were not false. There was really no evil in his heart. Because of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, Wang Feng's soul was too pure. It was very difficult for evil emotions and auras to be born. Even if there were, they would be absorbed. It was very difficult to let Wang Feng enter that evil state. End of chapter. Chapter 668. Unless all of Wang Feng's family members were killed and he entered a dark state, he might become extremely evil. But that was impossible. Hearing this, Bibidon fell silent. The other party could absorb emotions to cultivate. In the original sin domain, he could also sense other people's emotions and evil. It was indeed possible to enter the Rakshasa's secret realm by sensing the evil she emitted. But if that was the case, Wang Wu would be able to sense her evil and understand what she was most unwilling to face. After Wang Feng finished speaking, he fell silent, waiting for Bibidon's answer. To put it simply, this method was to use the evil of others to enter the Rakshasa's secret realm. It was just that it depended on whether the other party was willing or not. Because if he accepted the evil of others, he would definitely see a lot of other people's emotions and memories. Activate your domain. Bibidon's voice became a little hoarse. Wang Feng nodded. A faint black light enveloped the entire wooden house, and the original sin domain was activated. In an instant, Bibidon's body suddenly emitted a black mist. His expression was very calm, but his whole person became a little crazy. Wang Feng's body shook. His sea of consciousness seemed to be invaded by other emotions. Countless memories and pain came one after another. The scene in front of Wang Feng slowly changed. It was still this small wooden house. Wang Feng saw many scenes and memories, but every scene exuded a desperate and crazy aura, as if he had experienced a lifetime. That feeling was like watching a movie, and it was the kind where there were movie screens in all directions. It made Wang Feng feel like he was in the scene. Because Wang Feng's original sin domain was absorbing the extreme evil aura emitted by Bibidon. Therefore, the emotions in these short scenes could be clearly felt. Gradually, Wang Feng fell silent. The memories he saw were all things Bibidon was most unwilling to face, and at the same time, it also showed her most evil side. Wang Feng saw her killing a man with an extremely crazy expression. A man with a 6-winged angel martial spirit. He also saw the scene of Bibidon slaughtering a 100,000-year soul beast. For example, Xiao Wu's mother. At the same time, there were many things Bibidon had done with iron and blood in the martial spirit palace over the past few decades. Of course, these were all fragmented and flashed by. Not a lot. Maybe it was just a small part of Bibidon's memory. However, the more he saw, the more uncomfortable he felt. Gradually, Wang Feng's eyes were dyed with traces of black light, turning completely black. The power of the blood mark appeared on his body. The 7th blood mark, which was about to be completed but was motionless, loosened a little. Following that, the surroundings began to change. After an unknown period of time, Wang Feng's consciousness slowly opened his eyes. However, his face was expressionless as he stared at the clouds in the sky. Dark clouds filled the sky and covered the earth, making it seem like a world of darkness. In this world, Wang Feng sensed many powerful auras. There was also something similar to a small city ahead of him. However, they were all very illusory and didn't seem real. It seems that your body is indeed special. Bibidon's voice came from the side. Bibidon looked at the white-clothed Popediv. When she first came in, she was extremely unaccustomed to the energy aura here. It seemed that as long as she moved a little, she would be able to trigger the soul power and evil desires in her body. However, Popedif Wangwu was different. She didn't feel anything. Even her aura didn't change. Bibidon could even feel the aura around Wangwu. It was still so pure. Wang Feng looked at Bibidon and didn't know what to say for a moment. Logically speaking, although Wang Feng knew the identity and background of the famous first villain in the original work because of his previous life, and also the general experience. However, when he personally felt it and saw it with his own eyes, it was a different feeling. Bibidon, this woman is quite pitiful. Wang Fengxin shook her head. There's no need to say more. Bibidon waved her hand and said indifferently, it's just some rubbish from the past. For me, I don't want to forget. It's just a medium for me to enter here. She didn't care at all. Seeing this, Wang Feng nodded. Bibidon was indeed terrifying. Her control of her emotions had reached a very terrifying level. It was completely impossible to shake her will. Even when Wang Wu sensed the things that she didn't want to face the most, Bibidon, who had entered the Rakshasa's secret realm, didn't feel embarrassed at all. A person who could control her own desires and emotions was very terrifying. Even many top powerhouses couldn't do it at all. Especially behind that casual tone, just how much willpower did it require? Actually, in terms of talent, Bibidon is stronger than me, Little 3, and those peerless Douluo. Wang Fengxin couldn't help but think. She was a native genius of the Douluo world. She was fundamentally different from him or Little 3, who had cheats and golden fingers. At this moment, a figure floated over from afar and knelt respectfully at Bibidon's feet. Your Majesty the Pope, why are you here? Are you planning to challenge the last 2 trials? Seeing this figure, Wang Fengxin was shocked. This was the Spectre Douluo. Wang Fengxin couldn't help but feel a little surprised. After the Spectre Douluo escaped that day, Wang Feng thought that he was only a soul avatar and couldn't live for long. But even in the Martial Spirit Hall, Wang Feng had never seen this Spectre Douluo before and felt very strange. Furthermore, Wang Feng dared to guarantee that the Martial Spirit Hall definitely didn't have such a Spectre Douluo. But he actually saw this Spectre Douluo in this Rakshasa's secret realm? However, he was like a soul avatar now, and like the scene in the distance, he was a little illusory. This really surprised Wang Feng. You can say that. At the same time, let him have a try. Bibidon said calmly. The Spectre Douluo looked at Wang Wu and was slightly stunned. He nodded and said, so it's His Majesty Popedif. But I don't think His Majesty Popedif knows who I am, right? Wang Feng nodded. My name is Luoyu, and I'm from the Mara clan of this secret realm. The Spectre Douluo said slowly, we serve the noble Rakshasa god, and we are considered natural spirits. His Majesty Bibidon is the next Rakshasa god that my Mara clan will serve. I believe that with His Majesty Bibidon's talent and strength, he will definitely be able to pass the last 2 trials and become the supreme Rakshasa god. Hearing this, Wang Feng fell silent. In the Douluo world, the gods seemed to have clansmen that served them. For example, the Martial Spirit Hall served the Angel God. The people of the Sea Clan served the Sea God. For example, the King of Massacre in the City of Massacre. Wang Feng felt that he should be another god that they serve. Perhaps, end of chapter. Chapter 669. Wang Feng had a feeling that gods who needed to pass down their legacies would definitely choose their successors in the Douluo world. However, gods couldn't enter the Douluo world as they wished. Naturally, they needed to nurture a group of believers to help them choose their successors and pass down the power of the divine position. I see. The Moro clan should be the force that Bibidon secretly controls, right? Wang Feng seemed to understand a little. To be able to protect the gods of their faith, they naturally had great power. Evidently, Bibidon had been through the trials for a long time. From Luo Yu's words, there were only 2 more trials left. Bibidon would be able to obtain the true Luo Sha divine position. In the words of the Moro tribe, he was already the next god. I'm here to take the 8th trial, Luo Yu said calmly. Bibidong said indifferently, other than that, I also brought him here to take the Russian test. I'll let him experience the power of a rank 99 titled Douluo. Hearing this, the ghost Douluo was stunned. He looked at Wang Feng in surprise. The reason for his surprise was very simple. This was because this was the first time he had seen Bibidon bring someone into the Luosha secret realm. This place was far too sinister and sinister. Aside from the Moloch clan, any human who entered this secret realm, even if they were a titled Douluo, would lose their minds and eventually die here, becoming nutrients for this secret realm. Yes, the evil energy in the Luosha secret realm was so dense. It came from all sorts of powerful beings who had failed the trials. It had been many years until Bibidon came here. During these years, there would occasionally be other humans who accidentally entered the Luosha secret realm. Wang Feng felt that this world was more like a special spiritual world. Once someone fell into that evil state, it was very likely that they would be able to sense this place and be pulled in. Of course, this kind of situation was relatively rare. After all, not all soul masters would fall into that evil state. However, it wasn't impossible. Compared to entering the capital of massacre, it wasn't very complicated. Relatively speaking, it required someone to lead the way. Otherwise, it would depend on luck whether or not one could enter the Luosha secret realm. Luo Yu didn't reject Bibidon's order. At the same time, he introduced the situation of this place to Wang Feng. And the truth was just as Wang Feng thought. If one wanted to enter the Rakshasa secret realm, they had to fulfill a few requirements. Enter an extremely evil state and possess powerful mental strength. Only then can you enter. As soon as they entered, the trial began. First, he had to be able to stay in this place. The energy here would incite the evilest thoughts in one's heart at all times. Compared to the city of slaughter, which was purely focused on killing, this place was similar. The method to enter was not complicated, but most of the people who entered were turned into nourishment, causing the energy of this world to become even more evil. But in reality, it was precisely because the evil energy in this place was too dense that it tested whether a person could truly control their own evil. Wang Feng knew that the Rakshasa deity stood on the opposite side of the god of angels. It represented evil. However, this was only an attribute. For the gods, it was only a kind of power that allowed them to become gods. As for what the real Rakshasa god was like, it could not be generalized. Our Moro clan doesn't usually go out. Luo Yu floated in the air, her body filled with a quiet energy. Once we leave, we can only find a body to attach ourselves to. Otherwise, his fighting prowess would plummet, and he wouldn't be able to survive. Moreover, only those who have reached an extremely high level can go out. We clansmen can't go out. It's the same for those who come in from the outside. Even a titled Douluo's fighting prowess will plummet in this place. Hearing this, Wang Fengxin said. It turned out that this guy had survived and used a special soul clone to escape, leaving only a body and half of his soul to be burned to ashes by the karmic fire. That wasn't his body at all. There are many restrictions, but Bibidon also controls an extremely powerful force. Wang Fengxin thought. These Moro clansmen seem to be made up of pure spiritual power, forming mostly illusory martial souls like ghosts. They focused on spiritual and soul attack. Wang Feng still remembered 2 moves of this ghost Dalu. They were extremely powerful. Next, I have 2 goals. One is to destroy Bibidon's inheritance. The second is to see if I can see the power of a god. What is it like? Will it be stronger than the system? Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. He was rather curious about the test in this secret realm. After all, he should be able to see some of the power of a god, right? Luo Yu led Wang Feng and Bibidon to the small city that looked like a mirage. The people in this city were mostly clansmen like Luo Yu. Wang Feng sensed that these Moro clansmen were all very strong. But how should he put it? They were all rather ugly. Most of them were covered in black patterns of various colors, and their figures were also very strange. Our Moro clansmen have been exposed to the evil energy here for a long time, so their body structure will change. Luo Yu seemed to know Wang Feng's doubts, so she explained. This ghost Douluo was considered an extremely handsome man among this group of Moro clansmen. However, he was much uglier than a normal person outside. But he was still very strong. Their soul power undulations indicated that many of them were above rank 60. If not for the fact that their abilities would be greatly reduced after entering the outside world, Bibidon would probably have sent these clansmen out to search for soul beasts for him. The buildings in this mirage were very similar to those in the outside world. How are your injuries? Bibidon looked at Luo Yu. When you returned last time, you were very dispirited. How much have you recovered after entering the secret realm? Luo Yu shook her head and said, That Wang Feng is too strange. That kind of flame of his is our natural nemesis. I haven't even fully recovered yet. Luo Yu's expression was furious. It's definitely the nemesis of that evil and dark energy. It can directly burn the soul. If I hadn't reacted quickly and used my spiritual avatar to escape, I would have been dead by now. Your Highness, you must be careful. Luo Yu spoke in a low voice. Bibidon nodded slightly. I know. I've seen that fire before. It appeared in the Martial Soul Hall. But I didn't expect it to cause so much damage to the Moro clan. Wang Feng listened quietly at the side. Wang Wu, the tests in the Rakshasa's secret realm are very helpful to any soul master once you pass them. Bibidon's eyes were filled with admiration. But it's also very difficult. Every test requires a lot of time. But failure will also result in severe punishment. This punishment is irreversible. In other words, there's no way to recover. Not everyone can inherit the power of a god, so you must think carefully. I brought you here not only to let you experience greater power, but I also hope that you can become stronger. Wang Feng nodded. Gods with such evil attributes would often face severe punishment if they failed the test. Of course, Wang Feng didn't want to inherit the Rakshasa god. He really didn't want it. But he still needed to experience the power of a god. After all, he was now many times weaker than a god. Soon, Luo Yu brought Wang Feng to an extremely large building. It was not inferior to the Pope's palace. It was somewhat like the dark ancient castles in Wang Feng's memory. It was slightly gloomy, but it was also somewhat grand. It was very strange. At the top, there was a Rakshasa statue. It stared at the world, its eyes emitting an evil light. One look was enough to make one's heart tremble. This is the Rakshasa temple, Luo Yu said slowly. Entering this place means that the test has begun. Your Holiness, are you sure? Yes. Yi Futian nodded. P.S. I'm a little tired. I still have something to do tomorrow. Although it's dangerous, I still have to go out. I'll try my best. Chapter 670. Looking at the Rakshasa temple in front of him, Wang Fengxin felt an inexplicable sense of touch. He could feel that this special power was somewhat repulsive to his aura, but it was somewhat similar to the dark angel martial soul in his sea of consciousness. Especially when he looked at the Rakshasa statue, Wang Feng could faintly feel that the dark angel martial soul was slightly throbbing, but also a little disdainful. It was a very strange thought. Why would a martial soul give me such a thought? Wang Fengxin felt that it was rather strange. Although it was only a statue of the Rakshasa god, the dark angel martial soul was still a martial soul. Could it be that the grade of this martial soul was higher than the Rakshasa statue? Wang Fengxin thought, or could it be that the dark angel martial soul represented a god? But Wang Feng didn't remember any god like the Dark Angel. She seemed to be waiting for Wang Feng's answer. Luo Yu wasn't in a hurry. Bibidon wasn't in a hurry either. I'm sure. Wang Feng didn't think too much about it. Since he was here, this trial didn't matter. The main thing was that Wang Feng wanted to experience the power of a god, or what the trial was like. Hearing this, the ghost Douluo nodded. He walked out to the door of the Rakshasa temple and pressed his palm on the door. A halo of light blossomed from his palm. Every crack in the door moved slightly, revealing a sliver of a gap. Then, the door opened, revealing a ray of light. The door was extremely large, at least 10 meters tall. There were many creatures that looked like humans, but they were not humans, and they looked like beasts, but they were not beasts. They looked quite ancient, and there were also several Moro tribe members carved on the door frame. The ghost Douluo was one of them. The moment he pressed on the door, the ghost Douluo's carvings on the door frame lit up. Wang Feng knew those carvings. Before they came, the ghost Douluo had told them that the most powerful member of the Moro tribe was called King Moro, and he was the divine servant who guarded the Rakshasa god. He was even more powerful than the ghost Douluo, and he had been guarding the Rakshasa secret realm for many years. The rest were titled Douluo of the Moro clan. Only the Moro clan members on the door frame were qualified to open this Rakshasa temple. Normally, they wouldn't easily open the temple for outsiders who came here. Usually, they would need to go through a period of tests to prove that they were qualified to participate in the tests before they would open the Rakshasa temple. Wang Feng was a special case. Bibidon directly opened the back door for him. There was no need for those tests, and they could directly enter the temple to participate in the trial. After the door opened, there was a pitch-black light screen that emitted circular patterns. He couldn't see the world inside. It was mysterious and strange. Go in, Bibidon said indifferently. She was also going to enter the temple for a trial. Although the content of the trial was different, a portion of the trial was in the temple. Some of them had other conditions. However, the prerequisite was that one had to be qualified to take the test. In other words, they had to enter this temple. Entering meant that you had the qualifications to take the trial. Wang Feng nodded and followed Bibidon into the divine temple. The ghost Douluo also followed them. That light screen was similar to a special rule. The moment Wang Feng passed through the light screen and entered the temple, he felt that many of his powers seemed to have an additional layer of lock, as if they were sealed. He couldn't use his martial soul, soul power, or even his soul bone. Only, Wang Fengxin's heart moved. Only the power of the blood traces seemed to still be there. The power of the blood traces was produced by Wang Feng cultivating the Dark Angel martial soul. It was very strange. It was formed by absorbing the power of various emotions. To be precise, it was derived from the Dark Angel Wuhan, but the Dark Angel martial soul was originally one. After entering the temple, Wang Feng began to sense his surroundings. The internal structure of the temple was somewhat beyond Wang Feng's expectations. The light inside was very bright. Compared to the dark sky outside, it felt like day had come from night. There was an empty hall around him. At the very front, there was an extremely grand statue of the Rakshasa god. In Wang Feng's imagination, this should be the statue of the Rakshasa god's true body. It held a pitch-black scythe and looked ferocious and terrifying. Although it was in human form, it emitted an extremely evil aura. He couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman. At the position of the heart, there was a flash of light from time to time. In front of the statue were 2 rows of ivory-like stone pillars. Each stone pillar needed at least 6 or 7 people to encircle it. It was extremely grand. There were many ancient scenes engraved on the stone pillars, but they were all bloody. Compared to the Rakshasa statue at the top of the divine temple outside, this should be the real Rakshasa god statue, right? Wang Fengxin's heart sank slightly. He could feel the pressure from this statue. In addition to this statue, there seemed to be many levels above the entire hall. Wang Feng vaguely felt several extremely powerful auras coming from above. The Divine Temple is divided into a total of 18 levels. According to the strength of the examinee, they will enter different levels for the trial. The ghost Douluo said simply. After entering the temple, the ghost Douluo's expression was full of holiness. The three of them walked to the front of the Rakshasa god statue that was at least 7 or 8 meters tall. The closer they got, the more Wang Feng could feel the pressure. This is the Rakshasa god statue. It has a trace of the Rakshasa god's divine power. Bibidon explained to Wang Feng, "It is because of this trace of divine power that we are under such great pressure and special imprisonment in this mysterious place." At this point, Bibidon's eyes flickered with a ray of light. This is the rule of God. Even if a titled Douluo is here, it will be the same. It is similar to the domain in the City of Massacre. Wang Feng nodded slightly. "Lord Popediff, please drip a drop of blood on it." The ghost Douluo brought Wang Feng to a millstone in front of the Rakshasa god statue. At the bottom of this millstone was a ferocious beast that was connected to the Rakshasa god statue behind it. The place where the blood would drip was the beast's bloody mouth. The Rakshasa true god values bloodlines. The ghost Douluo said slowly, "The stronger the soul master, the stronger the bloodline. Only when the bloodline reaches a certain level will the Rakshasa god value it and obtain its recognition, giving it different trials. His Majesty Bibidon obtained the strongest Rakshasa true god's 9 trials. It is called the Rakshasa true god's 9 trials. There are a total of 9 trials. After completing the 9 trials, His Majesty Bibidon can inherit the Rakshasa god position and become a god. After that, there are the Mara True Master's 7 trials. It is also called the True Master's 7 trials. After passing the Mara 7 trials, you will have the qualifications to become the True Master of the Mara tribe and lead our tribe to serve the Rakshasa god. After that, there are the Killing Evil Ghost 5 trials, the 100 Slaughter Evil Ghost 3 trials, the Human Slaughter Evil Ghost 2 trials, and so on. End of chapter. Chapter 671. After hearing the ghost Douluo's explanation, Wang Feng noticed that there were many soldiers under the huge Rakshasa god statue. There were also many soldiers guarding it. There were people like the ghost Douluo from the Moro clan, who were awe-inspiring and extraordinary. They looked like vassals guarding the Rakshasa god. There were also other ferocious or terrifying ghosts and strange beasts. Seeing this, Wang Feng roughly understood why Bibidon brought him here. Popediff? The ghost Dalu looked at Wang Feng in a daze and reminded him. His Majesty Bibidon values you so much. Don't worry, with your talent and bloodline, you will at least pass the Evil Ghost Test 5 or above. You might even pass the Moro Test 7, why can't it be the True God Test 9? Wang Feng asked. The ghost Douluo was stunned for a moment before replying, because the gods will only choose one successor. Secondly, the True God Test 9 has high requirements for soul masters. There are no more than 3 people on the continent like His Majesty Bibidon, and only His Majesty Bibidon meets the requirements of the Rakshasa True God. Indeed, in terms of talent, there were very few people on the continent who could compare to Bibidon. The main thing was that there were very few people who had experienced what she had. She had experienced darkness, and her spirit and soul had undergone drastic changes. There was true evil in her heart, but she was not completely devoured by this evil. That was why she was chosen by the Rakshasa god. Wang Feng frowned slightly. He turned his palm and condensed a drop of blood into the mouth of the huge beast. Seeing this, the ghost Douluo and Bibidon's eyes focused. This was the second time Wang Feng condensed blood. The first time was for Oscar to try out his soul skill. When this blood appeared, that strange fragrance appeared again. Almost in the next moment, a hint of greed and desire appeared in the ghost Douluo's eyes. Bibidon could clearly feel it too. A special desire appeared in his heart, as if he wanted to swallow that drop of blood. She couldn't help but feel shocked. This Popedif Wang Wu's body seemed to be very unique. The blood in his body actually had such a strong attraction to her and the Moro clan. It was as if swallowing this drop of blood would greatly increase one's cultivation. Bibidon calmly looked at the white-clothed Popedif. This Pope had already given her far too many surprises and pleasant surprises. Therefore, Bibidon was still able to watch calmly. In comparison, the greed and desire in the ghost Douluo's eyes were completely undisguised. There was even a thought in his mind. If he swallowed that drop of blood, his injuries would be completely healed. He could still become stronger, but not by much? It was an instinctive desire. However, the ghost Douluo was also a powerful being from the Moloch tribe, so he naturally couldn't do something like that. Furthermore, this was the Rakshasa temple, so he didn't dare to do anything, and could only watch intently. The drop of blood fell into the mouth of the giant beast. The vassals of the various races around the Rakshasa true god statue began to glow intensely. First, it was the ominous ghost at the bottom, then the devil at the top, then the malevolent ghost at the top, and finally the true Lord Mara. The ghost Douluo was stunned. When the statue lit up, it meant that a different test had been activated. In other words, it meant that he had been chosen. Almost instantly, the statue of the true Lord Mara was activated. However, it didn't seem to be over. The largest Rakshasa true god statue also lit up. It was very fast, as if there was no hesitation. Seeing this, the ghost Douluo was stunned. Bibidon behind him was also stunned. The 9 tests of the true god? The ghost Douluo swallowed a mouthful of saliva. How was this possible? Did this mean that the Rakshasa god had chosen him? But it was impossible for a god to choose 2 inheritors. The ghost Douluo had never seen this before. He had lived for almost 100 years, and it wasn't that he had never met a genius who had passed the 9 tests of the true god, but usually, after they died during the test, the next inheritor would appear and be chosen by the Rakshasa god. They wouldn't appear at the same time. Could it be that the god had changed his own rules? The ghost Douluo couldn't help but think. Bibidon was also shocked because she had officially obtained the 9 tests of the true god, so she naturally knew how harsh the conditions were. Talent aside, what puzzled Bibidon the most was that Wang Wu didn't have any evil in his heart and couldn't sense any emotions. This was completely inconsistent with the selection of the Rakshasa god. How could a person without evil inherit the Rakshasa true god who worshipped evil power? This was the most puzzling point for Bibidon. However, Bibidon also thought of 2 possibilities. First, Wang Wu was lying. He was extremely evil and everything was a disguise. However, this was obviously impossible. When she entered the Rakshasa illusion, Wang Wu absorbed the evil aura on her body and knew part of her heart. At the same time, Bibidon also felt the pure aura in his soul. Bibidon didn't tell Wang Wu about this. In the domain, Wang Wu could see her evil side. However, she could also feel the aura of his soul. It was really very pure. It was just that she couldn't see Wang Wu's memories. Second, Wang Wu's talent was too strong, causing the Rakshasa god to involuntarily choose him. Thinking of this, Bibidon suddenly thought of that drop of blood. That drop of blood brought her great temptation and desire. This was obviously a symbol of the other party's special physique. Bibidon thought of a thought that even shocked herself. Could it be that the god coveted Wang Wu's physique? Was that why he was chosen as the successor? For a moment, the 2 of them were filled with thoughts. At this moment, the light at the heart of the Rakshasa statue also glowed. However, the strange thing was that after the light reached its peak, it quickly dimmed. Only a pitch-black light shot out from the heart and imprinted between Wang Feng's eyebrows, forming the shape of a sickle. But it was very faint. After that, the light completely disappeared and returned to calmness, as if nothing had happened. The hall fell into an incomparable silence for a moment. The 9 tests of the Rakshasa, the ghost Douluo walked over, her eyes still filled with disbelief. Lord Popetiff, what you obtained is the 9 tests of the true God. Her tone was extremely respectful. However, the ghost Douluo now felt that it was very strange. Now there were actually 2 successors of the 9 tests of the true God, who would inherit the godhood in the end. Bibidon was silent. She vaguely felt that it might not be so complicated. It's really too unbelievable. The ghost Douluo's voice was trembling. However, Wang Feng shook his head and said, "No, what I obtained was not the 9 tests of the true God, but the 2nd test of the true God." Hearing this, the ghost Douluo and Bibidon were stunned again. This is the 2nd test of the true God? Even with the ghost Douluo's experience, she had never encountered such a situation. Bibidon was also stunned. What the hell was the 2nd test of the true God? Since the Rakshasa god had acknowledged it, there would naturally be 9 tests. How could it only be the 2nd test? End of chapter. Chapter 672. But only Wang Feng knew the reason. He was indeed chosen by the Rakshasa god. There was no other way. His body was too awesome and his talent was too strong. Wang Feng felt that his dustless glass body, which had been tempered by the red lotus karmic fire, had a pure soul and should be the most suitable for creating a deity position. He could reach an extremely high degree of compatibility with any god. To put it simply, he was like a blank piece of paper, and any god could change this blank piece of paper into a satisfactory shape according to their requirements. He wasn't like Bibidong, or any other soul master, who had a fixed form. This was also the reason why the deity position was so difficult to pass down. It could be said that all soul masters, no matter how talented they were, had different experiences in the process of postnatal cultivation, and the final mature self was also different. And different gods had extremely high requirements. It was useless to be talented, and one also needed to reach a degree of compatibility with the god to inherit. The Bibidon was like this. Wang Feng roughly knew why the Bibidon was so compatible. So the Rakshasa god chose him. To be precise, she chose him instantly. Moreover, it was not the 2nd test, but the 1st test. Wang Feng purposely said that last part of the test. But why was there only 1 test? It was very simple. Because after the light from the Rakshasa god's statue entered his sea of consciousness between his eyebrows, more than half of it was directly swallowed by the dark angel martial soul. That light should be the will power of the divine power contained in the statue. It was a symbol and proof of approval. It was absorbed by the dark angel martial soul. At the same time, Wang Feng found that the 7th blood pattern was finally full, and the progress bar seemed to have reached 100% from 99%. This really shocked Wang Feng. Ever since he had eaten the 7 emotions 6 desires grass in the Medicine Spirit Valley, he had reached 99% of the 7th blood mark. However, he had never been able to reach that tiny bit. Who could have thought that after absorbing the sliver of God energy from the sculpture, he would actually be able to fill up his body? After it was full, the will power of the Rakshasa god was only a little bit left, so there was only 1 test. I didn't expect the blood pattern to need to absorb divine power to finally grow and take shape. Wang Fengxin's heart suddenly moved. The 7th blood pattern was very strange. It was formed by absorbing the killing god domain. The killing god domain itself should also be a weakened version of a god domain. No wonder it was so difficult to cultivate the 7th blood tattoo. In order to complete it, one would need the power of a god. Just like that, the 7 blood runes derived from the dark angel martial soul were all cultivated by Wang Feng. Wang Feng wasn't very clear about its specific use, but a pair of wings suddenly appeared on the dark angel's back, as if they were hidden. They were vivid and lifelike, and there was even a faint image of a Rakshasa on them, which made Wang Feng feel a little apprehensive. This pair of wings was larger than the other 6 pairs, and it looked very strange. The cultivation of the Dark Angel martial soul should be considered complete? Wang Fengxin took a deep breath. Although he did not know what kind of changes would occur, both his martial soul and the power of the blood marks would be greatly enhanced. However, there was no way that Bibidan and the Phantom Douluo would know about this. What is the content of the first test, Your Holiness Pope Diff? The spectral Douluo asked carefully. In the end, it was a true God test. No matter how many tests there were, they were all extremely difficult. It was far more difficult than the Mara 7 test. Wang Feng said firmly, "The content of the first test is to ascend to the 16th floor of the Rakshasa temple and defeat the soul beast imprisoned by the Mara clan, the Sky Luo Dark Feather Beast." The content of this test was the will of the Rakshasa god, which was contained in the last remaining will. The rest of the will had been swallowed by the Dark Angel to cultivate the blood marks, so there were no other tests and rewards. Sky Luo Dark Feather Beast? The spectral Douluo was slightly taken aback. This seems to be the last test of the True God Stage 7 test. Is this the first test? Wang Fengxin thought, of course not. It's just that the last remaining will of the Rakshasa god is not sure which test of the 9 tests it is. The Sky Luo Dark Feather Beast has a cultivation of 100,000 years. The spectral Douluo frowned. But even a rank 99 titled Douluo would find it extremely difficult to defeat it. Hearing this, Wang Feng was quite surprised. A rank 99 titled Douluo wanted to defeat a 100,000-year soul beast? It was very simple. Why was it so difficult? This beast is a monster born of the Moro clan and a soul beast. The spectral Douluo shook his head. And that soul beast is called a Sky Luo beast. Because it is the offspring of the Moro clan and a soul beast, this Sky Luo Dark Feather Beast has the characteristics of both clans. Any offensive soul skill is ineffective against it, and its soul is extremely strong, so it is immune to any spiritual attacks. Unless one has divine power, it is impossible to defeat it. Hearing this, Wang Feng understood. The characteristics of the Moro clan were immunity to physical attacks and strong spiritual power. It was very difficult to deal with this Moro clan. Back then, Wang Feng had relied on the Red Lotus Karmic Fire to defeat the spectral Dalu. This Sky Luo Dark Feather Beast was equivalent to being immune to 2 defenses, so it was naturally very difficult to defeat it. But Wang Feng didn't care. What about the second test? The spectral Douluo continued to ask. Hearing this, Wang Feng's heart stirred, and he said without batting an eyelid, "The second test is to help the Pope pass the True God 9 tests and become a true god." Hearing this, both of them were stunned. Of course, Wang Feng was making it up. The first test was real. The remaining will that Wang Feng had sensed from the Rakshasa god was this test. The reason why he made up the second test was because Wang Feng had to participate in the Bibidan's test. Only then would he have a chance to destroy the Bibidan's test. Destroy the inheritance of her Rakshasa god position. Otherwise, given the Bibidan's personality, she might not agree to let him participate in her test so casually. If that happened, it would be difficult to find an opportunity. After all, this secret realm was not simple. Wang Feng was also finding an excuse for himself. With this excuse, the Bibidan wouldn't say anything more. Help Her Majesty the Bibidan? The spectral Douluo was a little surprised. It's actually such a strange test? Could this be the reason why the Rakshasa god chose you, but there are only 2 tests? Thinking of this, the spectral Douluo couldn't help but laugh, as if he felt that his guess was correct. Could it be because you sensed my evil aura and entered the secret realm? However, the Bibidan seemed to have thought of something and couldn't help but say slowly. The spectral Douluo was even more surprised when he heard this. Didn't Pope Diff enter the secret realm by himself because he sensed the evil in his heart? If he entered the secret realm by sensing Her Majesty the Bibidan's evil aura, then it must be because of this. After all, it's impossible for the Rakshasa god to have two successors. When you entered the secret realm, you had this relationship. That's why the Rakshasa god chose Her Majesty the Popedif, but she only gave him two tests. The first test should be to verify whether Popedif has the strength to assist Her Majesty the Bibidon. Once you pass, then the second test is to assist Her Majesty the Bibidon. End of chapter. Chapter 673. Bibidon nodded at the ghost Douluo's words. Clearly, she agreed with him. Otherwise, the Rakshasa god wouldn't have chosen two successors. Wang Feng. Logically speaking, Wang Feng was truly dumbfounded by the forced explanation of the two. I'm just making things up. This was completely reasonable? When Wang Feng heard that, he actually felt that it made some sense. Even he himself believed it. However, after their explanation, they didn't have any doubts about Wang Feng's second test. After all, only Wang Feng knew the content of this test. Then, Your Majesty Popedif, please follow me. The ghost Douluo smiled and said, I'll take you to the 16th floor to let you see the strength of this sky Luo dark feather beast. Normally, tests have a time limit. For such a powerful soul beast, you don't have to make a move before you find its weakness. However, if you can pass this test, you can help Her Majesty Bibidon. That's great. The ghost Douluo said as he led Wang Feng to the 16th floor. Bibidon didn't say anything. The content of the 9 tests of the True God test was very difficult. She had spent so many years to reach the 8th test. One had to know that this kind of test was very dangerous. Once she failed, even if she didn't die, she would lose the right to inherit the deity position. In more serious cases, her cultivation would regress and it would be difficult for her to improve. In the worst case, she would die. Every step was extremely dangerous. Bibidon naturally wouldn't mind if Wang Wu's second test helped her. This meant that her chances of becoming a god were higher. Moreover, her 8th test was extremely difficult. Bibidon was confident, but with Wang Wu, she might be able to become a deity in advance. No matter what, there was no harm. Bibidon also wondered if this Wang Wu had the intention to destroy her deity position. But after thinking about it, she felt that it was impossible. There was no enmity or hatred. If this Wang Wu really had a grudge against her, he wouldn't have brought that 100,000-year soul beast back. It was impossible for him to know the secret of her deity position inheritance. He didn't know much about her, and it was even more impossible for him to do this to gain her trust. Bibidon had never told anyone about the secret of the divine throne inheritance. Moreover, many times, Wang Wu could make the martial spirit palace lose a lot of soldiers and generals. But he didn't do that. That was the soul hunting plan and the beast hunting plan. As long as Wang Wu had the slightest evil intention, the martial spirit palace would suffer a great loss. Not to mention Qianrenxue and Hu Laina. After going through so much, Bibidon's trust in Wang Wu had already reached an extreme. Soon, they arrived at the door to the 16th floor. The sky Luo dark feather beast is inside. The netherworld Douluo was a little shocked. He pushed open the door and led Wang Feng into the 16th level of the temple. This floor was actually very large. The moment he entered, Wang Feng sensed that he had been locked down by an extremely powerful aura. They entered a high platform which was blocked by a light screen. It was surrounded by black iron walls that were as smooth as jade. It looked like a black cage, but this cage was very big. It was at least 300 square meters. Looking down from the high platform, one could only see a black dot. Seeing this, Wang Feng was stunned. That's the sky Luo dark feather beast? He thought it was a huge soul beast, but when he looked down, he only saw a child. Cough cough, that's it. The netherworld Douluo pointed at the child. This child is very special. He's young, but his parents are dead. But he inherited their powers. His father is a 100,000-year soul beast, and his mother is a titled Douluo of the Molo clan. All these years, to prevent riots, this child has been staying here. He's half human, half beast. Once he's angered, he'll transform back into his original form. Hearing this, Wang Feng couldn't help but sigh at the wonders of this world. Only 100,000-year soul beasts could transform into human form, and then their cultivation would return to zero. They could only break the shackles when they cultivated to the titled Douluo realm. But this child had inherited his parents' powers, and he was still in human form. Both his parents are dead, and he inherited their powers. This is the template of a main character? Wang Feng thought. Is he the main character of a soul beast? Thinking about it, Tang San and Xiao Wu don't seem to be much. This is a precedent, right? Even though he was a Molo clan member, he was still a Molo clan member. Lord Popetiff, please observe him first, and then, the Netherworld Douluo hurriedly said. However, before he could finish his sentence, Wang Feng rushed out of the protective light barrier and fell from the high platform. The Netherworld Douluo. He wanted to say that he should think about his chances of defeating Wang Feng. He didn't expect Popetiff to jump down just like that. Your Majesty Bibidon, this. The Netherworld Douluo took a deep breath. At this moment, Wang Feng jumped down. A translucent black light barrier enveloped the entire room. This meant that the test had begun. He couldn't interfere. Let's watch first. Bibidon frowned. Wang Wu's arrogance and confidence hadn't changed at all. Of course, it had to be said that this was also a unique charm. Bibidon didn't think Wang Wu could defeat this Skynet dark feather beast. But Bibidon still chose to believe in Wang Wu's strength. But once the test begins, there's only success and failure. The ghost Douluo shook her head. If he fails, not only will the Pope not be able to help His Majesty, he will also be in great danger. Every step of the true God test is extremely difficult. It's not like you don't know that. Lord Popetiff is still too radical. In the Moro tribe, there hasn't been a Moro king who can defeat this Skynet dark feather beast. There was one who tied. Speaking of which, I'm reminded of Wang Feng. The Netherworld Douluo suddenly said. His flame is the bane of the Moro tribe, and it's also very effective against this Skynet dark feather beast. Humph. Bibidon snorted and said coldly, if he dares to enter the secret realm, his strength will be suppressed. It's impossible for him to defeat you. There was a special suppression in the divine temple. Martial souls and soul skills couldn't be used. But the test was an exception. At this moment, Wang Feng had just landed when he sensed the child's aura. It was a boy with black eyes and black hair. He looked delicate and cute, less than a meter tall, with dark circles around his eyes and messy clothes. He reminded Wang Feng of the demon child Neza in a movie from his previous life. Big brother, you smell so good, the child with dark circles suddenly said. Wang Feng. This little kid's first sentence made Wang Feng feel a little amused. Compared to you, those soul masters from before are not even comparable to a pile of shit. The child shrugged and put his hands in his pockets. I've suffered for so many years. Finally, I can eat a good meal. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.